Welcome to the Town Board meeting, Thursday, December 17th, 2015. Please rise and salute the flag. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Emergency exits are to your right behind the town clerk and also the door you came in. Roll, please.
Councilman DeLango?
Here.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger? Here. Councilwoman Doyle? Here. Councilman Perotti?
Present.
And Supervisor Perotti.
Here. Public comment?
Tom Warner? Thank you. You're welcome.
Now, tonight I'm going to be a little reluctant to get into any controversy, but I would like for everybody to know that the tickets should be issued for the parking, no parking on the street from November until after the first of the year. And there doesn't seem to be much response to that. They're doing the same as they've always done, especially up around my house. They enjoy parking on my grass. So I'd like to see some of those tickets issued for the court to handle.
Have you called in and filed a complaint?
And no, I haven't.
Well, then we would have no way of knowing who's parking where.
Okay, well, you know, all the way up Poplar Hill, you've got the problem from all the way up, you know, from Simpatch on up to me. Then you're in Dover if you spit real hard, because the other side of the street is Dover. This side of the street is Amenia.
Okay, on your property, when someone has illegally parked on your property, have you called the sheriff?
No. That causes enough static. I don't, you know, I just
Well,
like
if someone's on your property illegally, then you have the right to call the sheriff and have them removed.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe they just aren't aware of the
Well,
law.
if the sheriff comes and gives them a warning, then they'll be aware.
Okay, I just like for the people to know that police don't do it.
Okay.
You know, they ran over your sign that used to sit in the front there. I don't think you came and picked them up, but somebody did.
Okay, if someone's on your property illegally, you know, you need to call the authorities and have them removed.
No, well,
Okay.
that was all, and I just know people have been used to doing when they park where they want to, when they want to.
Mm-hmm.
And we passed a resolution authorizing the constables to issue tickets
For
about
people,
a year ago.
the resolution actually stated for people parking on the sidewalk, not on private property.
Okay. Well, that's,
Because there needs to be, you know, that's a public access way, you know, for the residents. You know, they have to be able to walk on their sidewalks.
okay, well, maybe this will just prod some of them to think twice about.
Well, it couldn't hurt. You're right there.
All right,
The word will
thank
get
you.
out. Is there any other public comment?
Jeff Johnson?
I'm Jeff Johnson, live on number 9 Lango Road. I'm here tonight to complain about Mr. John Ciccato, apartment house number 5 Lango Road. There's numerous garbage in the front entrance, okay? There's rubbish along the house that I have to look at every day. And traffic in and out at all times of the night, day and night. That's not normal. And dogs barking every time when my wife and I are ready to leave for the evening or whatever, or when we're coming home, which is ridiculous. And also, there's a septic problem, okay? It's awful wet over there, especially when we don't have any rain for days, all right? For example, I did see a person with a moving van moving into one of the apartments there maybe about a month and a half ago approximately. And when they're ready to leave, I noticed that they sunk right down in there, and I knew what the problem was, okay? So apparently nobody addressed it. I've been complaining about this matter for at least 5 years or more, okay?
The septic?
Excuse me?
The septic?
Yes, it's got to be the septic, it is.
No, I mean, this is the first time I'm hearing that complaint. I know there's been a chronic problem of traffic in and out, and we have called the Drug Task Force about it, and also about the couches and whatever other garbage they have. We have had the place cleaned up at least once and charged it to the landowner. So this is our new garbage problem that
Oh,
they're...
yeah, this is a new garbage problem, absolutely.
Okay. Now, have you filed a complaint about this new problem, or you're just letting us know now so we can follow up on it?
I'm letting the town board know, okay, because I've been, I made complaints numerous times about this, and it doesn't seem like nothing's getting done.
Well, we
Okay.
did have the garbage cleaned up once, and we did charge the landowners taxes. We've also notified the sheriff and the Drug Task Force about, the traffic in and out. The septic problem is the first time I'm hearing that. We'll have our, building inspector go up and check on that, but that sounds like a Department of Health problem. But he can work with you with the Department of Health on that one. And if there's a lot of garbage or I believe there were old discarded furniture. I mean, if that problem is building up again, we can, we can serve papers on the owner of the property.
Well, they're sitting out front, okay, sitting on them couches there, whatever.
Now, in
Okay.
addition to the couches, are there garbage also?
Oh, there's garbage as soon as you walk into that door, there's a pile of it. I discovered there 2 days ago.
Okay.
On my way to
Well,
work.
the garbage we can definitely do something about. And if need be, we'll have somebody else clean it up and we'll just put it on their taxes.
That whole yard needs to be cleaned up. It's a total disgrace. I shouldn't have to turn around and come and look at this thing every single day, because obviously it don't really matter to anybody else because they don't live there, okay? They really don't. You don't know until you come down that road, okay, after work, and just happen to turn around and stroll down through and look to your left, and he's like, really? And then you turn around, you get out of your vehicle, and you look at your house, like, wow, mine ain't too bad, but you look to the left, says, I can't believe this.
Now
And
have-
it's an embarrassment, okay, when I do come home, and it's an embarrassment when I do get company. I can't even entertain for a party. I can't, because I'm embarrassed to have anybody to my house.
Well, I'm sure you are. Now, have the dogs been on your property? Or?
Yes, they have been on my property. They have turned around.
Okay,
and-
then that's our animal control person, and I'll give that information to him
But
and
I've
have him
had,
follow up.
okay, I'm gonna tell you something. 2 occasions, my wife had come home in the evening, okay? I'd been in the house. I didn't hear it the first time. One of the dogs came and attacked her, all right? The second
Okay.
time, when I did hear it, I went outside and I discovered that the dog was about to attack my wife, okay? And I told the landowner, I do not want your pets on my property.
Well, we'll have our animal control person follow up with you, so you can file a formal complaint, and he will also go over there and put them on notice as far as their animals. That we can take care of. The septic problem and any garbage around the house, our code enforcement officer will come up, take pictures, and notify the Department of Health if necessary. And I will have him contact you and tell you every step he is taking.
Okay, I agree with that, but I still don't know why I have to come home every single day and look at that. I really don't. I really don't. Okay, some of you may know me, all right? I do a lot of mowing and stuff around town, all over the place. When I get home, I'm tired. I am tired. I got all I can do to mow my place. And then when I walk around on a Sunday morning, and I walk out and I look over there, it's a disgrace. It really is.
Well, we're going to do something about it.
Well, you know, I hope so, because I'm getting sick and tired of this.
And, you know,
'Cause I'm a taxpayer just like everybody else in this room and in town. And just like you, ma'am.
right, this, you know, this is an ongoing problem. We've had the owner of the property in court several times, and if we need to, we'll haul him in again.
Well, all I say, I hope something gets done, because you know what? I'm getting sick and tired of this, and I'm just really getting fed up. I'm trying to be patient, okay? I really am. But one of these days, I'm probably going to lose it.
Well, that wouldn't be a very good idea, and
Sure,
we're
trust
going.
me.
We are going to, you know, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to follow up and make sure. In fact, I will come up to your place, see for myself.
Oh, please do. Please do. I'll give you a grand tour.
Okay? I'll
We
be
need to
there.
have our building inspector also.
Yeah, I'd like to
Yeah,
have a meeting.
he's,
Really,
this is
seriously.
an ongoing
Absolutely.
problem.
Is this something that we can get back to Mr. Johnson with some type of forward movement before Christmas of next week? By Wednesday of next week?
Well, I think Monday we can do it,
Monday's fine. I don't have a problem with that. Monday's fine.
because that's the next time he will be
Okay.
here.
All I need is a time for the meeting or whatever, and I'll be there.
Okay. Okay.
You know what I mean? I mean, what else can I say? It's just an ongoing problem. It's just
Yeah,
getting
it definitely,
kind of ridiculous.
definitely
Yeah,
needs to
he's-
be dealt with.
Yeah, he's one, you know, he's not a good landlord. It isn't anything, you know, it isn't anything we haven't had to deal with before with him. And like I said, you know, he has been in court on occasion. So what we're going to do everything we can to take care of this problem for you.
Okay, I hope so. Thank you.
And we'll be in touch with you on Monday.
Okay, thank you.
Sharon?
I'm going to request that this be attached to the minutes of the meeting after I'm finished. On November 19th, this board passed a resolution to begin a secret process in which it would consider the Bulfamonte composting proposal on Route 22 close to the Dover town line and would declare itself the lead agency in that effort. In that board meeting, which lasted over 4 hours, this was a problem both procedurally and substantively. In terms of procedure, that vote should be rescinded and revoted. The reasons for this are: one, that clearly stated one-page letter written to the board from the Amenia CAC and read aloud in the meeting on the 19th was dated on that same day, so that board members did not have an adequate chance to comprehend it as related to the earlier printed aquifer material sent to you electronically. And two, the vote being taken on this was the last thing that happened in that meeting prior to the emergency interruption of that meeting due to the collapse of one of the voting board members in front of the television cameras. The public could not be clearly sure that this was a clear and conscious vote count. In order to remedy this, the vote of November 19th should be rescinded and then retaken at the very least. In regard to substance, I would advocate a different remedy after the initial resolution is rescinded, as follows. Whereas the Amenia Zoning Board in its March 2015 meeting clearly defined the Bulfamonte composting application as a solid waste management industry of the kind that is not allowed anywhere in Amenia by the comprehensive plan and coordinated zoning. And whereas the presentation Bulfamonte made at a subsequent board meeting indicated that there would be locked industrial fences where the volunteer fire departments of Dover and Amenia would not have access, and there would be continued smoldering and burning, 40 trucks per week on Route 22 bringing waste from Westchester and the like. And whereas the Conservation Advisory Council study and recommendation requested that the Amenia Town Board not consider this proposal because of its sensitive location directly over the valley bottom aquifer and the fact that it is just upstream from two important public drinking wells serving the May Lane and Tally Ho populations. And whereas the populations of Dover Plains and Pauling are mostly served by individual wells that utilize the same drinking water aquifer, therefore be it resolved that the Amenia Town Board will not engage in a secret process to consider the Bulfamonte composting proposal, which is currently illegal and not beneficial to the town of Amenia. That is the type of proposal that I am suggesting you make after you do a rescind and a revote. I'm well aware that some of you will not change your votes, but it should be redone. And I'm going to give a copy to the clerk, and I would request that it go in the minutes.
Is there any other public comment?
Yes, we have Carol Lee.
Hi. Well,
Could you state your name and where you live, please?
my name's Carol Lee, and we live at 3529 Route 22, right next to where the Bulfamonte solid waste proposal is going to be. Our neighbor, Tim Cole, who also owns part of the property that used to belong to the farm that we bought, abuts it immediately. And he brought to our attention several months ago that there was a proposal to do this. Now, I'm confused because I placed several phone calls back in, July, August, September, asking about how we find out about the progress on this, how do we make it known that we are really trying to find out more about it and not let it proceed unless we know that it's not going to affect our property, which it will. And I was told it was a town, it was a planning thing, and it wasn't a planning thing. I was told that the proposal wasn't going forward. I was told that it wasn't even being considered because, you know, for various reasons. And my son, I was given your name, Ms. Perotti, and my son wrote you a letter. His name is Graham Spearman. He's the owner of the property. And explaining our position. It will create an incredible amount of noise on our residential property. There's no buffering for that noise. The smell, the probability of there being an increase in insects, and just turning what is now a farming neighborhood and a residential neighborhood into an industrial one on a piece of property that we bought to do an organic flower farm. And that Tim Cole has been turning his property over more in the organic direction as well for his raising of his beef and his hay production. And I'm sorry, but we have not really been afforded information that we feel that we should have, having given you our information, having addressed the town and saying, what do we do about this? And we were told, no, you don't have to do anything about it because it's not going forward. And then I found out from Ms. Kroger that that is not true. I was shown the proposal, and of course it's upsetting us. We just bought this property. It's the old building home, the big columns. We're restoring it. It's, you know, it's not like we're knocking it down and turning it into condos. We are hoping to keep the atmosphere and the value of that property from being affected, which it will be very negatively, by having a composting, facility right next to us. So we'd like to know exactly what I'm supposed to do about this. What more can we do about this? I don't know if you read the letter that my son sent to you, if I should read the letter.
You can read the letter. I just
Okay.
received it.
Let me just bring it up here. All right, so my son's name is Graham Spearman, and he said, "Dear Ms. Perotti, I recently purchased the old Arnold Estate on Route 22 with the intent of starting a small organic flower farm and produce farm. My wife and I fell in love with the historic nature of the property and the beautiful land around it, and quickly decided to make it our home. As you may or may not know, the property was neglected for decades, and this is a long project to bring it back, which I suspect can only improve the overall land values in the area. Unfortunately, an application has been filed to start a commercial composting and yard waste disposal facility next door." Stop right there. We were told at one point it was a long yard waste facility that was being considered. It was not ever going to be considered a composting facility. And so I don't know why we were told that, since it absolutely was not correct. And my son's concern was that he was told by Tim Cole that this was sort of a gateway operation. If he got the permit to become a long yard waste facility, that was one step closer to him being able to get a composting license and to bring whatever muck that no other communities up here, want. And we don't want it either. Okay, aside from the obvious concerns about the noise and the many trucks and the equipment and the smell of large-scale decomposing matter, I have to assume this would devalue my property and render my attempts at revitalizing the property useless. The additional traffic from the trucks on Route 22, which is a relatively quiet road, is also a great concern to my wife, who worries about safety for our family. In that same train of thought, we are on well water, and the idea of someone will bring in tens of thousands of tons of yard waste, which will have been subjected to unknown quantities of insecticides, fertilizers, and chemicals, is perhaps the most worrying. There is no way to keep those chemicals from seeping into our adjacent water supplies as the plant materials break down and putting my family and property at risk. The zoning in our section of Amenia is flexible, but what they are asking to do is clearly not allowed. I would venture that due to the chemicals on the materials, they want to handle that it should be considered a low-level, solid hazardous waste facility and needs a much greater buffer between it and the residential properties and water supplies. And what's not mentioned here is the aquifer. And as the study shows, that is the concern. So I am strongly saying that we are opposing this, that it feels like it is being done sideways, that we as adjacent properties were never addressed. We were never, I bought a piece of property in New Mexico, and 2 miles away, a facility was changing their business and wanted to go into more solid waste. We were all, as landowners, informed and invited to a meeting. And I'm a bit surprised that that was not done in this case. And I really hope that this proposal hasn't gone past that point where there's no return. Thank you.
Actually, we have not voted to approve the zoning amendment to approve the application. What we did vote is to have the town as lead agency in the seeker process, which was based on the applicant having completed the FEAF, which they have not. So right now, even though we voted to be lead agency, we are not lead agency, and it's not moving forward. Because we can't even be lead agency. They can't go through the seeker process. They can't do anything till they complete the FEAF. They haven't. They're still working on it. So we'll see what happens.
So what does that mean?
It means that nothing is moving forward on the application at this point.
And if it does move forward, are we going to be informed?
Well, that's all part of the secret.
That's all part of the secret
All
process.
the questions that you asked, that's what comes out in the secret process.
So we're not gonna find out after the fact?
No.
They have to go through the secret process first before anything.
Okay.
It's an information gathering. The traffic studies are done, the environmental studies are done and everything else. And then once that process goes, that's when you have your public hearings and everything else.
Okay.
So it hasn't even gotten to that point.
Yeah, we haven't, we're not doing anything at this point.
So
We're
on
just waiting for them.
Will there be adequate?
Be at the podium.
The podium.
Sorry, the public can't hear you.
And we need to repeat, the question that she had was, will the property owners be notified of the process? How do we get informed? You answered her question, but people out there don't understand what the question was. And it was, how do you, as a landowner?
Right, how do
get-
I and our neighbors are
Right.
in the neighborhood have adequate warning that there is going to be a hearing, that there will be...
Whenever this type of process begins, whether it's before the town board or the planning board, all adjoining property owners are notified. It's the law.
Okay. so-
Additionally, on the homepage of the town website, there's the composting link, and every time we get new information regarding this project, that information is put in there. And if somebody sends a query in saying they want to see this additional information, they just need to get it over to the town clerk. We'll find the information and we'll add that to
And
that section.
How often is new information posted on your site?
We post weekly.
Weekly, so we would just
Yeah.
need to sort of have a
By every
a
Monday,
pop-up.
all the updates.
Yeah, we do the
Okay.
updates. It's on Mondays.
I appreciate it. I'm not trying to be aggressive. I'm just trying to be,
Well, it's perfectly
People
understandable.
understand the process, and a lot of people don't. They don't understand the whole process, and it's a very long process. As far as like the information being disseminated, you're going to get all of that. If they decide to go through the secret process, you're going to get all that information. You're also going to have the opportunity to speak on it at a public hearing. And, if you've seen the whole situation with Silo Ridge and that process go through, depending on the size of the project, it can take time.
okay. You'll just,
You'll be notified by certified return receipt as well as regular mail. So
Okay.
when it goes out to all of your surrounding properties, because it's a town board issue, you'll get a letter from my office. It'll be certified return receipt. It goes like that for every single project. So if it's the planning board, they do the exact same project. They do the surroundings. We get all of the information, and we'll send a notice to let you, so that way you are aware that there's going to be a public hearing.
good, fantastic. Thank you so much.
That's your last public comment to send out.
Is there any other public comment? Okay, supervisors report. I wanted to thank everyone who came to the Amenia NY Holiday of Lights celebrations, and also to the Amenia Library and the Wassaic Ladies Auxiliary for sponsoring the children's events with Santa. And also thank you to everyone who attended the dance program, and also to Heather and all the participants who did such a wonderful job. We had many local businesses who donated to our free raffle. They are Hard Roll Express, Larry Haven, Santos, Back in the Kitchen, Bank of Millbrook, Horse Sleep, Fresh Town, Boray's Events and Tents, Monty's Health Nut Hut, Kelly and Company Hair Salon, Spa Nails, Jack's Automotive, The E Kitchen, Drug World, Richie's, Harlem Valley Chamber of Commerce, Amenia Steakhouse, Black Eagle Currency and Coin, Cascade Spirit Shop, The Hard Roll Express, Metro Cafe, Page Home and Hardware, Studio 343, and anyone else I might have missed. Please shop local for the holiday season and support these Town of Amenia businesses. The Citizen of the Year for Amenia was Evelyn Frankie O'Connell. In recognition of her exemplary long life service to many organizations in her church in Amenia, she's been a member of the Amenia Recreation Commission for nearly 20 years, serving as treasurer and organizing many successful Easter egg hunts and senior trips. Her loyal participation and generous support of our community events is greatly appreciated by us all. The Citizens of the Year for Wassaic are founders and co-executive directors of the Wassaic Project. Today we offer our sincere thanks to Bowie Zanino, Eve Biddle, and Jeff Barnett-Winsby for establishing the Wassaic Project in the heart of Wassaic 6 years ago. The trio's boundless creativity, energy, and enthusiasm have attracted new artists and residents with a deep appreciation for a rich history. The Summer Festival brings 4,000 visitors and artists to see exhibits and live performances in carefully renovated historic buildings, bringing vitality to our hamlet. Free community events such as the Haunted Mill, Artists in Residence, Open Studios, and Community Day Parade and Block Party are just a few of the cultural and recreational activities you provide to our citizens. And also in preparation for the holiday season, I want to give a big thank you to Mickey McEnroe and his crew for donating his time and equipment to fix the lights on the memorial spruce trees at the Amenia Town Hall. Currently, one of the trees is out, but we're having a breaker problem, which we will get fixed so that they both can be lit. I came across an article from Dutchess County, where over 20 Dutchess County volunteer firefighters were recognized by New York State Office of Fire and Prevention Control. 24 Dutchess County volunteer firefighters representing 14 departments were recognized on November 30th by the New York State Office of Fire Prevention and Control at a special graduation ceremony held at Dutchess Community College in the town of Poughkeepsie. The firefighters, ranging in age from 16 to 50 years old, were acknowledged for completing the Firefighter 1 program, a basic training course for new volunteer firefighters in New York State. The part-time program consists of 35 separate sessions, totaling 104 hours of training over a 3-month period. The graduation included students from the summer and fall 2015 training sessions. And I would like to congratulate William Crawford from Amenia and Todd Tripp from Wassaic for completing their firefighting classes and training sessions. The reorganization meeting is on January 4th at 7:30. And I'd like to wish everyone a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Town Clerk report.
Good evening. The local share has been remitted to the supervisor in the amount of $507.75. I've also presented to the board minutes of October 15th, November 5th, November 11th, 14th, 19th, and December 3rd. We've all discussed the one change in the vote for noted on November 19th, so it's correctly and duly noted. I've been asked that we go through each minute individually so that way all members can vote. So I'd like to present October 15th.
I'll make a motion that we approve October 15th, 2015 minutes as presented.
Second.
Councilman DeLango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prodi?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
November 5th minutes?
I make a motion that we approve the November 5th, 2015 minutes.
Second.
Councilman DeLango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prodi?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
November 11th?
Make a motion that we approve the November 11th, 2015 minutes.
Second.
Councilman DeLango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prodi?
Abstain.
and Supervisor Perotti.
Yes.
November 14th?
I make a motion that didn't we just do November 14th?
Yeah, now we did 11th, we did Wednesday.
Oh, okay,
Veterans Day.
14th, 2015 minutes. I make
Second?
a motion that we approve.
Councilman Delango?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Abstain.
And Supervisor Perotti.
Yes.
November 19th,
With
Make-
correction?
with the correction.
Do you want to explain what the correction is?
I reversed the two, Mike and Gretchen's vote with Victoria and Stephen. So we've,
On voting on the snow removal
For the
for the
snow
town hall only.
I make a motion that we approve the minutes as corrected
Second.
For November 19th.
for November 19th.
19th.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti.
Yes.
And December 3rd.
I make a motion that we approve the December 3rd, 2015 minutes.
Second?
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti.
Yes.
Just to get you guys going on that one. Quick reverse. All right. For my office, Nancy Luther has 9 hours of vacation time and 9 hours of sick time for a total of 18 hours that she would like to carry over to the new year. I will prepare her a letter for her file, but also according to the handbook, I have to present it to the board and get approval on that as well.
I make a motion that we approve the carryover of the hours as presented for Nancy Luther.
I believe she has to use them within a certain amount of time, according to handbook.
Yeah, well, one, she gets to keep her
Sick.
sick, and it's just the 9 hours, which is for her a day and a half.
Okay.
So she can use her day off before it's allowed, but we need to approve it because the holiday season, she's
Okay.
not going away right now. I have a motion.
Yes.
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti.
Yes.
One of the items that the board voted on in one of the special meetings was the Board of Assessment review. Una Kutcher has replied that she would like to stay on our Board of Assessment review. We said yes, and the board went ahead and voted her in. But according to the Board of Assessment review member listing that I received from the Office of Real Property, turned out that Steve Bernadette was our member that was really expiring, not Una. We went through our minutes, and we've brought Una back 3 times since 2006.
We really like her.
We like her. February
keep her there.
6th, October 10th, and October 11th. Unfortunately, the minutes were transcribed a little differently. I usually put in, the start and end date. The minutes from 2006, 2010, and 2011 don't have the start and end dates. So I want to take good faith in the Office of Real Property, because they keep track of their education, and they say that Steve was up. I did reach out to Steve Bernadette to see if he's interested in staying on to be reappointed. He has sent me an email indicating he'd like to stay on if the board wants to. So I don't know how the board would like to proceed with this.
So when would his term expire?
It's going to expire in 2020. This is a dual thing. I'm looking for to rescind your motion of accepting Una and looking for a reappointment for Steve. There were no other letters of interest this year or the year prior in regards to this open position.
Okay, I make a motion that we rescind
We
the...
still have to
What?
go ahead and follow the process, though, for the open position.
We advertised for the open position, and we called
did.
Una
Yeah.
and asked her to submit her letter if she was interested. That's how we got
So-
Una.
Steve has to do the interview thing.
Has to do what? Didn't he send an email saying he
He
wants?
did send an email.
Did we interview Una?
Yes,
You
we
did.
Okay,
She was here for 3 minutes.
okay.
I understand. I'm just,
I make a motion that we rescind Una Couture's motion since it was redundant. She's already serving a term.
She's up in 2016.
Yeah,
She's
so
up next.
she
So
didn't
you'll
need
have to
that.
re-interview her in August.
And that we ask Stephen Benedette to come in for an interview.
I'll second it.
Stephen? Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes?
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes?
Councilman Prodi?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prodi?
Yes.
The good news is that they do not start their training right in January, so do you want to wait until the new year to
Yes.
interview Steve with the new board, and we can discuss that at reorg, just so we can get him in and sworn in, because he's actually already, now we'll have a vacancy. God forbid they get called upon.
Usually it's May.
I know, but he has to do his class, which is an April class. I'd like to announce that I'll be hosting with the American Red Cross February 18th, another blood drive here at the Town Hall. Dutchess Community College has reached out to the town clerk's office, and they're looking to offer English as a second language again for the 2016 year. If there's no board objections, I'm going to let her come in on Tuesdays and Thursdays, and the supervisor can sign the lease with Dutchess. It's the renewal.
Is the lease the exact same verbiage?
It's not here. I wanted to make sure you guys were okay with the class, and then I'll bring it in for the January meeting.
I have no objection as long as there's no changes.
My question is are they interested in offering any other classes, college classes for people within the community that don't have difficulty getting all the way over to the
Well,
campus?
If anybody in the community has suggestions of classes they would like to see offer, they can just call us and let us know.
We have an instructor who I guess has had some outreach, and they're looking to come back. This past fall it didn't happen because there was nobody interested, but they have students, and they're looking to start January 5th and going through April 20th.
Do we have the lease or the contract?
I thought that was signed in August. I didn't pull the lease until we started talking this
We
evening.
didn't sign anything.
So I'll
because
just let
they,
her know there's no lease on file.
Because I called them because what we got in the mail was the insurance.
We just got the insurance.
We got the insurance, and when I called out there and said, okay, why do we get the insurance? Are you still going to do the class? And they said, oh, that was sent in error. Okay.
Okay,
So
so
that-
I'll let
that
her
was-
know
that
that the
was that.
paperwork's not current. That's just, yeah.
And I believe that we had like a contract that was set up for them
Previously, you did.
previously. So we need to look at that and see what we did previously with them to make sure we do the same.
Okay. We do have 3 contracts that are up for renewal that the board has discussed over the last 2 meetings. We reached out to the Pine Plains vet 3 times. We've left messages, and Emily says that they're going to give us one. Nothing's been returned. So I have the SPCA contract. It's the
So
exact same.
Pine Plains,
It was-
it does do it with another town? I mean, it shouldn't be like
They do it with
reinventing-
Pine Plains.
So why
They-
can't we just use that as the template?
I've asked them to send it to us because I've never seen it.
So who have you spoken to?
There was an Emily. Both Nancy and Valerie have called the Pine Plains vet looking for a
I
contract.
would
so
call
we
Doc
can
Hart.
Yeah, I would call Doug Hart, BB.
He's the, yeah, Doug would be
Dr. Hart.
very proactive, I would think, for, I just have my dog there, and he's
Okay.
very proactive in trying to, keep business active, and
He's
I'm
also
sure
a great vet.
he's a great vet.
We used him for our farm.
He's the owner.
Okay.
For years and years.
All right, so we'll specifically ask for this doctor.
To see if they still want to, see if they still want
Because
to
they're
give
the
us a
ones that reached
contract.
out and asked me if we had a contract with them. She was going through all of the towns to see who they had. That's what initiated the conversation when I presented this, thinking.
I'll call him if you
Yeah.
want me to.
If they're interested, currently, we do have dogs that are going to the SPCA right now, so I don't want to
Well,
not have a
that's
We
place.
don't
where
want
we
to go
have
out
a
of town
contract.
if we don't have to. I mean, we'd like to.
Okay. I
Not have
also
to drive
have
to
Dr.
Hyde Park.
Clemens' contract.
Which I believe is the same as what he already had. I don't think there are any changes.
I thought he offered a lower rate.
We're a different category.
Municipal.
Please note that item 5 has been amended between large commercial projects
There you
that
go.
are the back charge via escrow and the small projects that are funded by the town, not-for-profits, and those of mom-and-pop projects that Tony often refers to. It is my hope having the two-tiered pricing structure that my services will be more competitive and appealing to the town for further projects beyond Silo Ridge. I mean, so this is an old email that you guys had.
Right. Can I see that and I'll can
Absolutely.
go ahead and get that done? I make a motion that we authorize the supervisor to renew the contract with Michael Clemens, offering his services as an environmental consulting professional for the town of Amenia. And his rates for, commercial rates are for $350 per hour. And for the homeowner, for nonprofit organizations and taxpayer-funded projects, he will be offering the hourly rate of $250 per hour.
Second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
Supervisor Prody?
Yes.
We also have Mary Ann Johnson's renewal. In case she's great at it.
Sure, why not?
There you go, Stephen.
Okay, agreement by and between Mary Ann Johnson and the AICP and the town of Amenia. This agreement by and between Mary Ann Johnson, AICP, herein referred to as consultant, and the town of Amenia herein referred to as client, to engage in the consultant pursuant to the professional planning services outlined in the agreement that follows. Section 1, duties. The consultant will work with the client in providing project review, including documentation review, verification of compliance with applicable local and state laws, seeker compliance, and report generation for the town of Amenia Planning Board. Section 2, effective date and time of performance. The terms of this agreement are effective as January 1st, 2016 through December 31st, 2016. The consultant shall not be liable for work delays beyond its control. Section 3, compensation. Consultant will bill for this project on a time and materials basis using a rate of $165 per hour, and travel will be billed at a rate of $85 per hour. Expenses will be billed at cost. Consultant will generate monthly invoices based on actual workload pursuant to customary recording keeping practices denoting time allocated per task. Section 4, employee-employer relationship. The client hereby agrees to retain the services of the consultant as an independent contractor. The contracting parties warrant that no employer-employee relationship is established between the consultant and the client. Section 5, this contract contains the entire agreement between the parties and may be amended only in writing, signed by both parties. Section 6, termination. Contract may be terminated in writing within 30 days notice by either party for performance or convenience. In the event of termination, all outstanding invoices are immediately due, subject to the town board audit and review. The parties signify their agreement by signing below. I move that we accept Mary Ann Johnson, AICP, as our consultant for the duties
For 2016.
for 2016.
She is our planner, certified planner. I'll second that.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
And Supervisor Prody?
Yes.
Okay, we have vouchers this evening. Town clerk's office has reviewed the vouchers. for the town of Amenia, and I'm presenting and requesting the authorization to be hereby given to the supervisor to make payment on each of the claims. Total claim amount for our general fund A, $111,009.21. Highway fund in the amount of $71,907.79. Highway lighting in the amount of $1,663.16. Wasaic lighting, $717.78. And the Amenia water in the amount of $18,131.60, for a total amount of the abstract, $203,429.54.
Make a motion that we authorize these, payment of these funds.
Second.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Abstain.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Delango? I'm sorry, Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
And Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
One last item. And unfortunately, public comment, it was brought up adding something to the minutes, and I just want to address that with the board, and as well as the public. As much as I appreciate everybody asking me how do you make the minutes, when public comes in to speak, there's different ways that we can note those in the minutes. We can note that I had 4 members of the public come up to speak, or we can itemize and list the names. But in regards to attachments and adding maps and adding items, those are not required. This is a town board meeting. Actions that make the minutes are actions of the town board. And as much as I appreciate that and try to include as much detail, I try to keep the minutes as accurate as possible, but I can't add in attachments. And that's something that I've already had that conversation. I showed her my town clerk manual, just like you walk around with the town board and town law manuals. I showed her directly what I can and cannot put into the minutes.
Is it against the law to put it in the minutes, or it's just not
It's not an
practice?
action of the board, and it's not practice. Attachments are not a practice of,
But what I'm saying, is it against the rules to include it, or is it just up to
it's a
discretion?
bad practice to add any type of attachment, and it's not, and it wasn't an action of this town board. These whereases are of the public.
No, but what I'm saying, in the code book, the law book, or whatever you
it's a
have,
bad
it says
practice.
you cannot add attachments.
No.
It doesn't
The
say
only
that.
attachments that we're to be adding in are, like, I include the labeling of the resolutions. I include what will happen is, because you guys approved the budget will go part of there. What we've also done is we put the budget in a separate spot on the website, so that way it is available. Attachments in all of these handouts are part of my minutes.
No, I understand that, but what I'm asking, in the rule book, does it say there are no attachments allowed?
It's not in the rule book, it's a bad practice.
Okay.
But unless you sit here and you make a motion and you say, I authorize the town clerk, or I request the town clerk, and it's voted upon, that is why you do not see, everybody comes in, I want this part of the motion, I want this part of the record. Items that are part of the record are items of what you've done.
Okay, so if we decide to put it in the minutes, you'll put it in the minutes?
Sure. But it hasn't been done in, I don't know, how long have we been here, 150 years? So I'm just...
Yeah, I believe the only attachments that are referred to in the minutes are ones that we're acting on.
And then they'd be in the resolution book, they'd be in the abstract book.
I mean,
things that are kept
they
in
would
the
be
vault.
they would be part of the meeting.
Real part of Amenia history. I want to address it because, it was a very lengthy conversation that I've already had with her.
I mean, I'm not saying just about this instance. I mean, this is an instance that was requested. I've been sitting here 2 years almost, and it's never been requested. But I can't see it being a bad thing.
No, but also public comments also not required to go in the minutes either.
What's not?
Because
I think you have to consider, what do you do if somebody walks in, they have 300 pages they want to include in the minutes? What are your minutes going to look like?
I mean, Mike, you and I had a quick conversation not too long ago about minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, there's the formats to the minutes are motions and resolutions. I literally use, there's a format of what your minutes are supposed to mirror. The title, members present, approval of minutes, your actions, your motions and your resolutions. The dialogue that we're having right now won't specifically be in there. It's not going to say Dawn Marie said, you know. Mike
Okay,
said.
so here's just, because I took minutes for the planning board, and I carry
have
around folders. She has a folder. She has the minutes are separate. She adds in additional materials that may have been presented, but they're not part of her minutes. So I think it's just a technical wording. What I would be happy with is, you know, at the meeting, you have the minutes, here they are, but I also have a CAC report, something else, but it is not a part of the record, the official record. It's in her file, it's on TV, and it's on YouTube. So we have 3 different ways of accessing it. It's available if somebody would want to go in and see those, but that's just my clarification. My understanding, I think they just said it wrong. They just would like to have it dropped into the file.
Okay. So I just wanted that clarification, so it's been discussed here, so that way when I get to rediscuss it again, we're all on the same page and you understand my position. All right. Other than that, I wish everybody a Merry Christmas and see you in 2016.
No, see you Sunday.
Yes. Pancake breakfast at the Amenia Firehouse. Gretchen will not be late.
Okay, that's the end of the town clerk report?
Yes.
Okay, there is no highway department report tonight. Grant report?
Absolutely. Very good.
I think they already have them. Let's go ahead.
Hi, Town Board. Happy holiday season. I think it's been a pretty good year with grants. We did get a couple of new ones. We still have a lot of pending ones and a lot of existing ones that need some attention. You have the report, which I emailed to you. We did get a new CDBG for the Wassaic Trail to the Train that still has to be acted on, and we still have our DOT grant, the Dormitory Authority grant. I do have a correction on the dance program. Vicki applied to the Mid-Hudson Arts Council for $1,500, and we're expecting a $2,100 grant from the state Office of Children and Family Services that she applied for. And we have the sidewalk project to look forward to too in downtown Amenia. I'm still working on the kitchen proposals and looking to find other sources. There are a couple of sources I'm pursuing. The Hudson Valley Community the Community Foundation of the Hudson Valley, excuse me, they changed their name, and some other possibilities. I'm putting together a package, which I met with the supervisor about grants recently, and that's one of the priorities that I'm working on. I'm sad to say we did not get the grant for the New York State parks that we applied for earlier this year. We were competitive, though. It was ranked regionally significant. It was just a competitive year. The Hudson Valley did not get one of the 3 big $500 million grants that were given throughout the state. So I think that's why we were ranked on a regional basis. If we were to get the $500 million, it may have been funded. But I think it does show it was a significant project. The CFA comes up every year. We can apply again if necessary. So I think it is.
The walkway over the Hudson got $500,000, and there was $1.2 million from Marist College.
There were some very interesting grants given. And Vassar College got a grant.
Yeah, to the bigger.
They were big, really big projects. There was a lot of good projects that weren't funded. We were listed on the state's website. The Mid-Hudson Regional Economic Development Council decides these projects, and but if you look at the list, there was quite a few really good competitive projects, including our own. So I think there still may be some other possibilities out there, and the project is farther along than it's ever been. Very close to final approval from the DOT. And we still have pending the Wassaic Sidewalk CDBG, which I think was a competitive proposal. It's in the low-income area. So I'm hoping, we may get some good news on that front. And also, yes, I was at a meeting here with Councilman DeLango and representatives of NYSERDA. Victoria knew about this and asked me to go. I was glad I did because it talked about the, pellet-fired boiler project and how the town may be eligible for 40% of those costs in the grant.
Instead of 20?
And yeah, so actually I thought it was, going in there, I thought it was going to be 20, and they said that at the meeting it was going to be 40, so I thought that was some good news. Plus, also in talking to the engineers, it was really a good meeting to understand the project, to have 4 engineers here, I think, working on this project specifically, 1 representative of NYSERDA and 3 others from Cloth Harbor Associates. And it was just exciting to talk to them about their grant programs. One of the gentlemen was saying that if others are interested in this technology, there are grants available for small businesses and residents if they are interested in similar projects, if this works out. So,
In general, or in particular for pellet?
Well, yes,
Alternative
wood
energy.
burning,
Alternative
sustainable
energy.
alternative energy sources like wood-fired pellets. Because this is the one man who was here, that's why they have all the engineers helping them. The team is working with NYSERDA, but there's one person basically who handles that program for NYSERDA. But they have a whole bunch of different programs, and the town has benefited from that original audit that was done and other past grants. Yeah.
Insulation. Did we get anything for the gym, or is that just out of our own? That was their recommendation, is that we do
It was
the
their
windows.
recommendation, there were no incentives for windows.
That's too bad, because the windows
I
are a big
asked.
problem. Yeah.
They said no.
But they were looking at the site, they were taking pictures. The gym looked really nice with the new windows, and so I think that was a positive development. So, have a Happy New Year. I look forward to working on some other.
Can you just explain a little bit more about, so we had thought 20% would come for sure from NYSERDA. It was non-competitive. We could pretty much bank on it if we followed their rules, right? 20% of the capital costs, or is that going to?
Well, no, 40% I think just of the boiler installation.
Of the boiler.
Which is about, I forget the exact, I think that's only in the $100,000 to $200,000 range. I'm not sure the exact price tag of that particular component. But he was willing to, from what I heard, to entertain the thought of additional costs being added, up to a maximum of $200,000.
So we could get more.
It was 40% of the boiler, of the wood-fired pellet boiler. But then there was other components of the wood-fired pellet boiler, like the radiators and stuff like that. The NYSERDA guy said, they could be included up to that $200,000 cap.
Well, that sounds good to maximize that.
And it was the same grant that it was last year. Last year it was 20%, and it went up to 40% now.
Oh, that's great.
So it was a good meeting.
And were our guys there, the Morris Associates?
Morris Associates were
Yes,
there.
oh yeah, Bob, he ran the meeting really.
Basically, it was NYSERDA, our engineers, and NYSERDA's engineers.
Which was Cloth Harbor?
Cloth Harbor.
Okay.
What happens is NYSERDA's engineers work with our engineers to make sure that the project is actually beneficial, that everything is engineered the way it's supposed to do. The wood-fired burner is the main source of heat, so you get the benefits of the cheaper fuel and everything else. So basically, we have our engineers, NYSERDA has their engineers, and they work together to make sure that the system is
Works
working
efficiently,
properly
right.
and efficiently. Now, part of that grant, they're going to pay up to 80% of the grant in the beginning. Then we have to do a year worth of consumption. Then that's when the other 20% becomes available. Because they want to make sure that we track our consumption and we're saving money on fuel and everything else. So that was one part of the thing that they came about, so.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Have a Happy New Year. See you at the meeting.
Any other committee reports?
CAC met last night and went over a big agenda. Let's see if I can remember what all was on that. We started with the review of the Boltamonte project again, and if you are interested in learning more about it, the CAC is looking at it in greater detail from an environmental position, and we meet on the third Wednesday of each month. And in January, that would be 1, 2, 3, the 20th of January at 7 o'clock here in this room. They had the composting proposal. We talked a little bit about the cell tower. I noted that we had a little more activity on the MTA cell tower, but I didn't know much more about that other than it looked like our lawyer had been working a little bit more on that. Harlan Valley Materials, we're still missing some meets and bounds descriptions, and we're working with Ian to supply that for Dutchess County Planning and Development so we can finally update our soil mining overlay district maps. We talked about climate change in Amenia and what we can do here, and I was happy to explain that we have been working with NYSERDA. We are working with alternative energy. They suggested that we go further, and Soft Flyers at Solar City is asking residents, what can we do to get solar here? Is it possible to put it on the landfill? I know we had talked about the old Amenia landfill as being a possibility, but I think we should look at it again. I know you can't go through the cap, but maybe there's some other alternative ways of mounting solar power in a big field, because they are paying people $1,000 per, I can't remember. My husband does farming, and he has been approached many times to do solar to lease, and they will pay up to $1,000 per acre to use it for solar. So the question was, is our landfill has about 10 acres. Is there any way we can maximize our property, our land, our rooftop, whatever, for alternative energy, not only to benefit us, but also to be a positive tax flow potentially to the town. They wanted to restate their opinion that they think that we should not consider the proposal to amend the zoning to allow composting in the OC district, because in the OC zone, virtually all the OC zones do have the issue of a valley bottom aquifer issue. We did go over Mary Ann Johnson's letter. She did go over our comprehensive plan and our zoning and reviewed it with the eye of whether or not solid waste composting of this nature would be appropriate, and she did have some conclusions at the end which we reviewed, and she had specific conditions that we already know we need to look at, but she reiterated it from her point of view and gave some very good guidelines if we do go forward, and setbacks, very specific, very helpful, let's just say, helpful guidelines that we do think that if you do go forward should be considered carefully, property setbacks in particular. And,
Did she state that it fit in our comprehensive plan?
She gave about a 4-page summary of her findings, and at the very end there's a summary on page 3 and 4, and she felt that in fact she didn't see any obvious reason why not to do it, if it can be done with further study and make sure that you're not adversely affecting the environment and the neighboring property owners.
I believe I forwarded it to you. You might want to just do a search through your emails, because you have that. Okay.
That's all I have.
Any other committee reports? No historian?
For the Enhancement Committee, I just want to reiterate the thanks out to all of the businesses who contributed for the Holiday of Lights, especially to Richie's Deli of Amenia, who donated all of the meatball subs so we could give it to the fire company, and all the folks on the parade route. We gave them little bags saying thank you from the fire company and the Enhancement Committee, and that was courtesy of Richie's Deli. So I hope you enjoyed the sandwiches. That was it.
Actually, as far as the Holiday of Lights, I would be remiss in not thanking B.J. Murphy and his tree farm for donating our tree at Fountain Square, which was a wonderful donation on his part. Okay, bond resolution. I reached out to our bond counsel and our financial planners, capital asset, to do a bond resolution. I spoke to both capital assets and also to our bond counsel about the possibility of the generator being included in the bonding, and they said as long as there was a good, reason for it to be included as part of the heating system. And I explained that we had ongoing sheltering meetings here, and that the Red Cross would not give us a contract for sheltering unless we did have a generator, so that we could provide heat should we have an emergency and have people here. In addition, we're doing a whole new system, hydronic, and the last thing we want to have happen is if we were without power for a week and the temperatures dropped, to have pipes freeze and have any damage to our new system. So that's for those two reasons. Since they had already given us a quote for the generator work, bond counsel said it was we could include it in with the borrowing.
Not to be difficult, I'm just trying to figure out, I thought that we have the pellets boilers and we have the oil-fired, and I thought that was the backup.
If we
There's
have
two
electricity.
systems. I see, the generator is still required, okay. And the engineers felt that that was an important addition to the
Yes, also
system.
Yes, they said that we could include it in bond counsel, and also all of them said, we could include it in our borrowing because it was related to the whole heat system, both for the sheltering element and also protection.
And I know you've been working on this, and I apologize that I haven't actually attended those emergency meetings, but can you...
What emergency meeting?
The alternative sheltering meetings where...
Yeah, the town of Amenia has been hosting the sheltering meetings for the town of Amenia, town of Northeast, town of Dover, and town of Pauling. And Red Cross has been here.
I know Tally Ho got a generator so that they could take care of their people on site, right?
Their generator is only to provide water. Okay. It doesn't provide anything else, but they were required after the fiasco a few years ago when they did not have a generator and the people who lived there did not have water. So they were told in no uncertain terms that they needed to, have a generator so that the people in their homes would be able to have water.
So they are a Red Cross designated site because they have a generator, at least for water, right? As I understood, they are a designated site. Are they the only ones? I'm just trying to figure out where are the designated sites, and because we already have generators for the two firehouses and we service those.
Those are both small areas.
They're not big enough for housing or to provide temporary shelter?
Well,
I'm just curious. And we don't have a kitchen, we don't have...
But this actually makes sense if you're going to do that particular heating system. I know that the larger wood chip system that we have at my place of work, there is a backup generator to provide electricity if the campus was to lose power. So it makes sense. I can understand where she's going with it. And so I can understand from, if you're gonna have one, you don't wanna have one without the other. And, you know, if, from a future standpoint, you know, once the kitchen does get built, I'm gonna be positive, because our grant writer is working hard, and the committee is working hard on trying to get that going. I think the eventual goal for the town of Amenia's town hall is to become a place of refuge. And I see that as a potential for becoming a reality. But that would go hand in hand with the heating system.
I'm not 100% positive that we need that right now. It adds $100,000 to the $1 million heating and cooling. We don't
Well,
have
when
cooling
would
in
we
here,
have it?
actually.
When, I mean, how are we going to get $100,000?
We're not. We'd have to raise taxes. There's no way that you could get a grant for a generator, I don't think, unless...
No, I've looked everywhere, even Homeland Security.
Homeland Security and that sort of thing.
Even the Red Cross, I mean, if you had come to our sheltering meetings, one of the things they spoke about is the difficulty of finding funds for generators.
Is the school a potential?
No, they don't have a generator.
Okay, so the only two
Mainly,
generations...
yeah, the main thing for having the generator is to protect what we're spending all this money to upgrade our heating system.
Okay. I'm sorry, I just didn't quite get all of the information I needed to feel comfortable adding the $100,000.
What about the highway garage? I thought we were going to borrow money for that, and that we were going to, since they said that we should only go there once, we were going to include this all together. What about the highway garage?
Nobody said anything about only going there once. If you do a bond anticipation note, you can add to it. But we don't have a plan for a highway garage. This is strictly for the heating system.
I don't think we're ready to bond for that, since you'd have to have a detailed
Well, we have to
plan.
have a place to put it. This is strictly for the heating system. This gives us permission to borrow. That does not mean, one of the things that was explained to us, that the dollar amount in the bond resolution, that does not mean that is the amount we have to borrow. We can only we can borrow only what it's actually going to cost. But the amount in here, including what Morris Associates gave us, they included 10% contingency, which is something you have to do with projects like this. I mean, this also, besides the upgrade of the heating system, it also, includes asbestos abatement. It also includes construction oversight by the engineers, in addition to doing the bid specs. But before we can borrow, we need to do a bond resolution.
And I assume that there's a savings in general while we're having all of this engineered and built out and upgraded, that installing the generator at the same time, there's some kind of savings in doing all of this all at once. Is that correct?
Well, it's all part of one project. I mean, we're talking about replacing one 60-year-old steam boiler that will get us through this winter, but not very likely get us through another one, with a pellet boiler and 2 oil boilers.
And what are we going to do for cooling? We're going to continue with the air conditioners in the window? That's where we're at. Okay, I just want to make sure I was understanding it correctly.
And the other thing, this isn't just replacing a 60-year-old steam boiler with 3 smaller boilers, because one of the recommendations from the mechanical engineer was that there would be more cost savings to go from steam to hot water. So that's why we're going from relying on a large steam boiler to hydronic, which would be 3 smaller boilers. Now, the plan is for most of the heating to be provided by the pellet boiler. But however, if the temperature drops below a certain temperature, then the oil boiler would kick in to provide additional heat to heat the building. Now, the other problem we have, that's why we're doing a whole heating system, is that in the heating units in the rooms, all of the parts in there are obsolete. You can't get them. They're pretty well gone. They're very old. In 3 of the rooms last year, in order to heat 3 of the rooms, including the Historical Society room, we had actually had to take 3 radiators out of the hall and hook them up in the rooms just to provide heat. That's how, outdated the heating unit in each of the rooms are. One of the things they did look at is, where are tunnels underneath and the piping and everything. So they can use some of the same, but we do have a small amount of asbestos abatement, not in the steam boiler itself, but in the tunnel. There's some areas in there that need asbestos abatement.
Vicki, I guess what your question is the generator necessary with the heating system?
At this time?
No.
Is one
The
of my
generator
questions.
is not necessary for the heating system, but it is not a bad idea. All right?
And what's it going to run? In other words, the $100,000, does that do our water?
I haven't seen the plans for the
septic?
generator, but $100,000, I'm pretty much thinking the whole building that's going to run.
It's the whole building.
Is that necessary?
Yes, it's,
Penny wise, pound foolish.
Yeah,
Are you going to cut the cost to an $80,000 generator and run half the building? You might as well go and do it the right way the first time. I mean, that's the way that I look at it. You're spending $986,000 on a heating system, $100,000 for a generator. Is it necessary? No, it's not. Is it a good idea? I think it is.
And then you look at down the road, making the building viable for being able to rent space, like other towns have done, other communities done, similar to what has been done in West Stockbridge, Massachusetts. There's,
I mean,
it does make this building more viable for those type of enterprises.
I do think these estimates are high. There's no doubt about that. I mean, especially with the 10% contingency built in. We're talking about this auger system. They were worried about the run from the pellet storage tank to the day storage. The run was going to be too long. So they talked about using a vacuum system. A vacuum system, it says, increased the cost approximately by $5,000. When we were talking to NYSERDA said a lot. The other places that were using the pellet-fired boilers were running into the same problems. And they came up with a drop system where instead of using one long auger system, they used 2 smaller auger systems and basically let it slide down a chute.
Gravity.
So instead of running 200 feet, they would run 75 feet into another 75 feet of a chute and then 50 feet to the boiler. So when we talked to NYSERDA and the engineers talked to NYSERDA, that came up, does away with the vacuum system.
Is that reflected in here? Or
It says on the first page that, an auger is still to be used for the day tank. This increased the cost approximately by $5,000. That was the talk of the vacuum system. I mean, I do have a feeling that the way that this stuff is engineered, there is, I don't know how to say, I think there is going to be room, there's definitely room in this. There's no doubt about it. My only worry is if we put a 1.1 million price tag on it, $1.1 million is going to get spent.
That's for sure.
I mean, I do feel that this could be done cheaper. We just got to watch our P's and Q's when this thing is getting done.
Aren't we going to have it put out to bid? I'm sure they're going
Yes.
to do this bid specs and.
It's going to go out to bid with the
It
bid
has to
specs
go
and
out to
everything
bid.
else, but, you know, even when the bid specs go out and everything, we're still going to have to watch and question. You know, I just want to bring it up, you know, with the asbestos. You know, we were quoted originally for the asbestos almost like $9,000 for the test. The test ended up costing us $2,600.
So you'll have to go out and make sure that companies bid that are going to give us a good quote.
Well, that's the decision we'll be making. I mean, the, resolution number.
51.
Bond resolution dated December 17, 2015, a resolution authorizing, subject to permissive referendum, the construction of improvements to the town hall heating system in and for the town of Amenia, Dutchess County, New York, at a maximum estimated cost of $1,100,000 and authorizing the issuance of $1,100,000 in bonds of said town to pay the cost thereof. Whereas all conditions precedent to the financing of the capital project hereinafter described, including compliance with provisions of the State Environmental Quality Review Act as a Type 2 action, have been performed. Whereas it is now desired to authorize such capital project and its financing now therefore, be it resolved by the town of Amenia, Dutchess County, New York as follows. Section 1, the construction of improvements to the to the town hall heating system and replacement of the existing system, including related reconstruction of portions of said building, and addition of a generator, as well as original furnishings, equipment, machinery, apparatus, appurtenances, and incidental improvements and expenses and connections therein, in and for the town of Amenia, Dutchess County, New York, is hereby authorized, subject to permissive referendum, at a maximum estimated cost of $1,111,000. Section 2, the plan for the financing of the aforesaid maximum estimated cost is by the issuance of $1,100,000 bonds of said town, hereby authorized to be issued, therefore pursuant to the provisions of local finance law. Section 3, it is hereby determined that the period of probable usefulness of aforesaid specific project or purpose is 25 years pursuant to subdivision 12A of paragraph A of section 11.00 of local finance law. It is hereby determined that the maximum maturity of the bonds herein authorized will exceed 5 years. Section 4, the faith and credit of said town of Amenia, Dutchess County, New York, are hereby irrevocably pledged for the payment of the principal of and interest in said bonds, as the same respectively become due and payable. An annual appropriation shall be made in each year sufficient to pay the principal and interest on such bonds becoming due and payable in such near year unless paid from other revenues. There shall annually be levied on all taxable real property of said town a tax sufficient to pay the principal of and interest of on such bonds as the same become due and payable. Section 5, subject to the provisions of the local finance law, the power to authorize the issuance of and to sell bond anticipation notes in anticipation of the issuance and sale the bonds hereby authorized, including renewals of such notes, is hereby delegated to the supervisor of said town, the chief financial officer. Such notes shall be of such terms, form, and contents, shall be sold in such manner as may be prescribed by said supervisor, consistent with the provisions of local finance law. Section 6, all other matters except as provided herein relating to the bonds herein authorized, including the date, denominations, maturities, and interest payment dates, within limitations prescribed herein, and the manner of execution of the same, including the consolidation with other issues, and also the ability to issue bonds with substantially level or declining annual debt service, shall be determined by the supervisor, the chief financial officer of such town. Such bond shall contain substantially the recital of validity clause provided for in section 52.00 of local finance law, shall otherwise be in such form and contain such recitals in addition to those required by Section 51.00 Local Finance Law, as the supervisor shall determine consistent with the provisions of local finance law. Section 7, the validity of such bonds and bond anticipation notes may be contested only if, 1, such obligations are authorized for an object or purpose for which said town is not authorized to expend money, or 2, the provisions of the law which shall be complied with at the date of publication of this resolution are not substantially complied with, and an action, suit, or proceeding contesting such validity is commenced within 20 days after the date of such publication, or 3, such obligations are authorized in violation of the provisions of the Constitution. Section 8, this resolution shall constitute a statement of official intent for purposes of Treasury Regulations, Section 1.150-2. Other than as specified in this resolution, no monies are or are reasonably expected to be reserved, allocated on a long-term basis, or otherwise set aside with respect to the permanent funding of the object or purpose described herein. Section 9, upon this resolution taking effect, the same shall be published in full or summary form in the official newspapers of said town for such purpose, together with a notice of the town clerk in substantially the form provided in Section 81.00 Local Finance Law. Section 10, this resolution is adopted subject to permissive referendum. The question of the adoption of the foregoing resolution was duly put to a vote on roll call, which resulted as follows. Can I make that motion?
I'll second it.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Okay, transfer of funds resolution number
52.
Whereas the town board has the authority to transfer funds when necessary or anticipated to amend the budget. Whereas budget amendment in the highway fund increasing the expense line 90608.3.0.0 medical insurance town by $406.03 and decreasing the expense line 90608.3.33.0 medical insurance by $406.03 for additional costs. Whereas budget amendment in the highway fund increasing expense line 51104.3.0.0 general repair CE by $4,672.71 and decreasing expense line 51304.3.36.0 machinery CE diesel by $4,672.71 for additional costs. Whereas budget amendment in the highway fund increasing expense line 51122.3.112.0 improvements EQ chips by $1.66, decreasing expense line 51304.3.366.0 machinery CE diesel by $1.66 for additional costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 16204.1.62.0 building CE maintenance by $2,650, decreasing expense line 19004.1.49.0 special item CE contingency by $2,650 for asbestos inspection costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 16204.1.77.0 building CE telephone by $2,500 and decreasing expense line 19004.1.49.0 special items CE contingency by $2,500 for additional telephone repair costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing revenue line 2705.1.0.0 gifts and donations for $750 and increasing expense line 71504.01.074 special rec facilities CE dance supplies by $750 for dance recital supplies. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 16201.1.0.0 buildings PS by $1,500 and decreasing expense line 12201.1.0.0 supervisor PS by $1,500 for salary costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 16204.1.56.0 building CE Fountain Square Light by $150 and decreasing expense line 16204.1.126.0 building CE Vintage Light by $150 for additional lighting costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 31201.1.75.0 police and constables PS special event by $425 and decreasing expense line 35101.1.0.0 dog control PS by $425 for special event salaries. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 36201.62.0 safety inspections CE maintenance by $60 and decreasing expense line 36204.1.51.0 safety inspection CE dues by $60 for additional truck repair costs. Whereas budget amendment in the general fund increasing expense line 71104.1.89.0 Amenia Park CE ballpark lights by $200 and decreasing expense line 71104.1.0.0 Amenia Park CE by $200 for additional lighting costs. Whereas budget amendment in the water fund increasing expense line 83404.6.0.0 transmission distribution by $267.01 and decreasing expense line 8340206.6.0 transmission distribution by $267.01 for additional water main repair costs. Whereas budget amendment in the water fund increasing expense line 90308.6.0.0 Social Security town chair by $114.91 and decreasing expense line 83402.6.0.0 transmission distribution by $114.91 for additional water main repair costs. Be it further resolved that the Amenia Town Board authorize the bookkeeper to encumber all claims against the town that are received between December 17, 2015 and December 31, 2015. Now therefore be it resolved, the Town Board authorizes the transfer of necessary budget lines to process the transactions. Can I make that motion?
I'll second it.
Are
Discussion.
there any questions?
The additional costs for the first three items. What were the additional costs?
Medical insurance, must have been our medical insurance.
Yeah, there was just that line was short by that amount.
So the first three are for lines that were short.
Yeah, Stan gave me those numbers.
Okay. And we spent $2,500 on telephone repairs?
Well, telephone, yes, for between telephone repairs and the regular, that, in that line is not only telephone repairs, but also the regular telephone bill.
I believe our telephone costs go up and down because they shop it out, right? Cornerstone always, I could be wrong, but I think they shop out all the time for the cheapest route.
Well, one of the things we might want to look forward to for some cost savings for, from what I understand, we have had some problems with Cornerstone with drop calls. And also
When you
busy
call the main
signal.
line, you get
When
the
you call the
busy
main
signal.
line.
That
Well,
happens to me quite frequently. It happened to me today.
Well, one of the reasons, well, what I just found out, the reason is that Cornerstone uses the internet.
Yeah.
So I do, I have had a call from Optimum with a proposal that I can bring to the board about, possibly changing.
Yeah, we had discussed that last year, waiting for...
I thought we went back to Cornerstone, though, because we figured it was a contract, right? We have a contract with
There is a
them?
contract issue with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, we were in a position where we would have to pay penalties.
Right, which made it unfeasible to switch.
But basically, their call handling and processing really doesn't fulfill the needs that we have at Town Hall, so, yeah. Plus, busy signals are really unacceptable on the main line when it's just a transfer circuit. The last question was regarding the water fund. The moving from the transmission distribution to Social Security is going to handle that. I mean,
Yeah, we had we had enough in there for Social Security for the 2 people who work in the water fund, but then we had the water main break, and we had
Right.
extra people
Right.
that we had to pay salary to, so that's why we went over that line.
All right.
And the transmission distribution line is strictly for water main.
all right. Those are my only questions. Thank you.
How did we go over in the constable line so that we can stay within our means next time?
That was the special events, and that's where we put Jason Dean when he did
The project.
that project that he presented. All
Oh.
those. So instead
That
of
put-
taking it
put
out
us
of
over?
regular hours, we put it
Okay.
under special, so that way the regular hours wouldn't go over.
Okay.
Yeah,
And-
and I took, since we didn't need all the money that was in the dog control line because we pay him by salary, I took the additional monies in that line to cover it, in addition to them covering the Holiday of Lights, which we haven't gotten yet.
Did Sue Serino pay for our extra constables when she had her meeting here? And if not, I think in the future we should make sure that if somebody needs additional security for their
Well,
private,
the
that they should pay.
additional security we needed, in addition to Senator Serino, was for everybody who was here because of the threatening tone of the comments that we were getting in a phone call that we got, so.
And she wasn't the first politician of her level who requested
Needed it?
and received a town-paid security when they came here.
Who else? Just out of curiosity, I didn't know that this was a
I
pattern.
could look it up.
I've not known anybody else, but if there is a precedent, then I think that we
Yeah,
should
there was
maybe
precedent.
relook at it and say, you guys come with your own security. They came with their security. I don't know that we need to pay. We're hosting it. We'll give you a space. But if you need to use our videographer, or if you need to use our constables or our security system, they need to reimburse us for direct costs. That's just my
Well, she
feeling.
brought her own videographer.
And she brought
the
her
Senate
own
one.
police people too, so,
Well, they called, considering a lot of comments that showed up on Facebook, her office did call the sheriff, so that was done
That's
after
again.
the fact. It was just, but going forward, we can go ahead and do that and ask them to bring their own.
I think, or pay us for our services.
But the additional monies put in that line are also for Holiday of Lights.
Right, but I thought we budgeted correctly, but since you reminded me that we did have Jason do our evacuation plan, which is very good, I understand now how we went over. I'll make a motion that did you already make a
Yeah.
motion?
The motion's already there.
And we need a second.
And we're
We
second.
just need a vote.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Okay, Cablevision resolution. Actually, I have attached 2 resolutions. One of them is a request for a public hearing, and another one is one we were sent from Cablevision. Roger, do you want to explain the second one that you just sent? Because there's been a question about, whether or not we need to do a public hearing.
The second resolution is basically the resolution that came with the original packet of information, the FCC 394 form, with the amended language, or a language removed that Attorney Fitzpatrick had issues with. Other than that, it's the same one that you saw before.
So you just removed that section that said that we understand the financial solvency of this new company, because we don't really understand it.
Correct.
So I think that sounds fine. That was the one thing that we didn't really.
Well, there's also the recitation that the town board has heard the comments of all interested people.
Oh, right.
So
And we have
that's an issue.
So we need to decide whether, we want to do, which resolution we want to do. Whether we want to have a public hearing or not have a public hearing.
Roger, are we the only town that Cablevision has this in front of?
The resolution?
Yeah.
Oh, no, there's probably, throughout Cablevision's footprint, well over 100.
Well over 100.
municipalities.
How many other ones went to public hearing?
So far, about 40 that I understand have approved the resolution.
No, how many went to public hearing?
Only one.
One went to public hearing.
And that's because they didn't know they didn't have to go to a public hearing.
Well, that's your opinion.
Yes.
It's not my opinion.
Right.
So you think that we should have a public hearing and go through that process?
I do. I think the law requires it. I have also spoken with the Association of Town Council, who agrees. This is something, you're changing the control of the Cablevision company. I certainly think that's something that affects the public, and that the public would have a right to comment on it. If they have a right to comment on, renewal of the contract, then this is certainly a change of control. They should have the right to comment on it. So, and a public hearing was held when the renewal contract was, going to be approved.
But that was for the franchise itself?
Yes.
And any amendment to the franchise or change to the franchise? I believe a public hearing would need to be held.
To an actual...
Yes, but no changes are being made to the franchise, as I understand
That's right.
it.
Well, the
Just
change
ownership,
is-
right?
Just the ownership.
It's the change of control to a Netherlands corporation with a subsidiary in Delaware.
Are they changing the price or anything?
No. Doesn't impact any of the provisions or obligations of the franchisee.
Now, I remember somewhere if we didn't act on this thing, it goes into effect 120 days after anyway.
Well, it's my understanding that because you had already voted on this resolution, that was considered an action. And so even though it was rescinded, it's still considered an action, so that 120-day clock doesn't exist anymore.
Doesn't exist anymore.
Well, I disagree with you there, too.
Okay.
You asked that be rescinded, and it was.
Yes.
So Denise, your recommendation is that we use the second resolution?
Now, you said that you spoke with legal counsel at Cablevision
Yes.
regarding this public hearing?
We had, Cablevision had an outside counsel research the matter. Their assessment was that the public hearing was not necessary. Other municipalities have gone ahead with this resolution without public hearing. It's within your call, but from our perspective, the public hearing isn't necessary.
What's the downside?
There's no downside. Cablevision would just like to get this matter resolved and be able to move on with the transaction, so we're.
So we're holding them up by offering a public hearing in January? That would be.
Well, my
there a deadline?
understanding, I spoke with the Public Service Commission of the State of New York, and they're not going to make any determination until the end of April, is what they told me. So you have that time period anyway. Here, we're talking about going
Well,
over to the next meeting.
I don't know
public
if that's necessarily the case. I mean, the company has to get all of their documents in order for the Public Service Commission to review.
I
Doesn't
spoke
mean-
to legal counsel.
But that doesn't mean that
And they-
Cablevision has until April. They'll complete their review by April.
Well, but this all has to be approved and confirmed by the Public Service Commission.
I'm sorry. I
It
didn't
has to
understand.
be approved by the Public Service
Right.
Commission.
Right. But I'm saying your timeline is a little bit more immediate for Cablevision because they've got to prepare the documents that they then in turn deliver to the Public Service Commission.
Well, there's a time frame that's permitted for the town to do this approval.
So how many municipalities have to approve it?
Out of 600, about 100 of them. And that's because of the language in their franchise agreement. Newer franchise agreements don't have that same type of language regarding controlling interest because of the environment that communication companies are in right now. There's a lot of merger and acquisition transactions going on, and so a lot of that process is being streamlined in the newer franchise agreements.
Denise, how do you see this hurting the town?
I didn't say it was going to hurt the town. I'm suggesting that you follow the legal procedures and have a public hearing. Mr. Connor even has in his version of the resolution, the second one that's been submitted, that you've heard the comments of interested people. I certainly think the public would be interested in the control of the Cablevision company from which they get service.
We held a public hearing on $1 million boiler system and no one showed up.
That's not the point. That's not the point
So you're
who
trying to make a
shows up at
point
another
for-
hearing. The point is the procedure on this matter. And I've given the board my opinion on the proper procedure, and it's up to you what you choose to do.
I make a motion that we go with resolution number 2.
Which
Or
one
the
is
second
that?
one. The second one in your packet.
Well, I don't know
With
which
public hearing
order
or
it's
without public hearing?
You want to say either
This
with,
resolution that starts, let's see, 1,
with public hearing or without?
with the public hearing.
It's the one with the bigger heading on it.
2, 3, it's the second resolution on begins on page 4,
The one requiring a public hearing?
requiring a public hearing, and I believe it does not include the fact that we have heard, because we haven't heard yet from the public other than incidental comments. Is everybody in agreement that I can read that and make that a motion that we accept this? And
Just don't understand, you have 4 other towns doing the same thing and no one's going to public comment. It doesn't make sense to me.
I think
I don't know
it
if
makes
that's
sense to
true or
me
not.
that people do have opinions about their Cablevision. It is one of the biggest things that go into
But
their
the
houses.
opinion about the Cablevision, if someone stands up and says, my Cablevision bill is too high, it has nothing to do with this resolution.
No, they have the opportunity to provide comments. If they have something to say, then I think that we should listen to it and understand their comments before we
But
go on.
again, from my understanding, this resolution has to do with a transfer of the company.
Right.
Has nothing to do with our service, it has nothing to do with our wires,
Well, they're going to be the new provider. You're going to have to work with them.
but it's already a contract.
Are
it's
we
a
going to approve it or
difference.
not?
So if we don't approve it, Cablevision's going to come in and take Cablevision out
I
of
don't know
Armenia?
what happens, but we
Would that
better
happen?
listen to people.
Would that happen?
The contract extends through 2019. It's a 10-year contract that you're currently under, which runs through 2019.
Okay.
So if they were to do that, they would be in breach of the franchise agreement that they have with the town.
All right, so in 2019, there's a new contract anyway.
Well, we would negotiate another one.
But we can't negotiate this contract at this resolution.
No.
So we're not even talking about
You mean your
the
public
contract.
access channel? Is that what you're talking?
I'm just...
You are
you're saying-
talking about this contract because what they're looking to do, the contract requires that if they're going to transfer control or ownership, they have to come to the town for consent.
Okay.
That's why they're here.
I understand. But if someone says my cable bill is too high, that has nothing to do with this resolution. It
No.
just has to do with a name change.
It's not a name change,
You're
it's
changing
change of
ownership.
control.
But does that have anything to do with our contract?
Yes, it
It
has.
just changes the name. Does it
It
change the
has to
service?
do with who is providing the service and
Does it
how they're
change
going
the
to
service?
provide it. It may, certainly.
Mike, you're providing a service down here, and you are my,
Vicky,
you're
I'm
my,
just saying we're making a
you're
mountain out
my
of a molehill.
client, and now you're saying I'm no longer Mike DeLango, this is Russ Simpson.
It's just we've
So
been
I
back
don't
and
know
forth
that
with
my
email and
costs,
resolutions. How much has this cost us?
we need to follow the law
How
so
much
that
has this
we,
cost us in fees?
well, how much do
For
people
something that's
pay
ridiculous.
for their Cablevision service? Now you're taking a new company.
But Vicky, you're not changing the price.
It could. It could. If somebody new comes into your service, you don't think somebody's going to change the price, perhaps?
You're still under
they'd be in-
contract until
they'd be in breach.
2019.
The price that people are going to pay for their service. It's a new provider. It's a new
But it's the
entity.
old
It's a new
contract.
corporation.
You're not extending the contract.
You're changing.
You're changing.
Who?
You're changing the name.
No,
No, it's a whole
changing
different
who-
organization.
Who is going to provide it and how they provide it may be entirely
How
different.
many hours do you have on this?
I don't have my timesheets with me here
Okay.
tonight.
Guess how
Mike.
many people
You know
get
what? You're
cable?
paying me.
A lot of people get cable. It's a big portion of their bills, and they may have a comment. I've been stopped on the street for people asking, what is this new entity that's coming to provide their service? They pay bills that are very expensive, and they want to know who is going to come in. And I think if they have a comment, they have the opportunity to come here, and it's putting another month into their delaying their process a bit. But I think if our lawyer says that's the process that we should use, I think we should give people the opportunity to understand more about it, to have a comment. They've asked me about it. You haven't been asked about it?
No,
Not one comment.
not a word. The only comments we had, what are we doing?
I've had 3 comments.
What are you doing?
I have concerns that they
You
don't
vote
know
no, then you
who their
rescind
new
it, then you
provider
go
is.
here, and no one knows what this is about. They want to know how come this has taken 4 meetings to solve.
It hasn't taken 4 meetings.
When did we first see this?
And I've provided emails to the board.
When did we first see this?
Citing the law and giving you my legal opinion. You pay me to give you legal advice that I feel is the best advice for the board to follow. If you choose to ignore it, then you vote otherwise, Mike. But
I
I'm
agree.
not going
I
to
don't need you to
run
tell me that. I
around,
know
I'm
how I
not going
vote.
to run around what I feel the law requires and tell you to do otherwise than what I feel
It
you should do.
just seems like, Denise, there's something going on here. I mean, I read your emails back and forth to this
Why
lawyer.
don't you call Association of Towns and find out
They're
yourself?
getting a little, like, you're defensive. Why are you getting defensive about this? This is what I don't understand.
We need to
I'm
decide which
giving you
one we're
legal
doing.
advice.
Okay.
I make a motion that we follow resolution number...
It'll be 53.
Second one, 53, and I'll read it. Resolution of determination under secra and authorizing publication of notice of public hearing on request of Cablevision Systems Dutchess Corporation and Cablevision Systems Corporation for consent to intended merger of Cablevision Systems Corporation, Altice NV, and a subsidiary Neptune Merger Subcorp. At a meeting of the Town Board of the Town of Amenia, held at the Amenia Town Hall on the 17th day of December 2015 at 7:00 p.m., Town Supervisor Victoria Perotti called the meeting to order, and I can't remember who seconded it, by Councilman whoever it was, moved the following resolution to wit. Whereas the town of Amenia previously entered...
I didn't hear who seconded.
I don't know who seconded it.
It hasn't been seconded yet.
Yeah.
Okay, whoever seconds it. Hereinafter Cablevision, which franchise agreement was executed by the town supervisor on February 26, 2009, and approving renewal issued and effective August 28, 2009, and which franchise agreement has a term of 10 years from August 28, 2009, and whereas by letter dated October 30, 2015, Cablevision submitted to the town FCC Form 394 application for franchise authority consent to assignment or transfer of control of cable television franchise, whereby Cablevision has requested the town's consent to the intended merger among Cablevision Systems Corporation, Altice NV, and its subsidiary Neptune Merger Subcorp pursuant to the terms of the existing franchise agreement. And whereas the existing franchise agreement provides that no change in control or assignment of franchisee or this franchise shall occur without the prior written consent of the municipality, the town, which consent shall not be unreasonably withheld or delayed, and that if the municipality fails to render a final decision on the request for a change of control or assignment within 120 days after receipt by the municipality, such request shall be deemed granted unless the franchisee and the municipality jointly agree in writing to an extension of time. And whereas the existing franchise agreement further provides that in the event that the municipality refuses to grant the aforementioned petition, it shall set forth the specific reasons for its decision in writing by municipal resolution. And whereas consideration, approval, disapproval, or no action by the town board of or on the requested merger is a Type 2 action exempt from further review under the requirements of SECRA pursuant to 6 NY-CRR 617.5C26. Now therefore be it resolved by the town board of the Amenia, by the town of Amenia as follows. Now therefore be it resolved as follows, that the town board hereby determines that consideration, approval, disapproval, or no action by the town board or of or on the attended merger among Cablevision Systems Corporation, Altice NV, and its subsidiary, Neptune Merger Subcorp, pursuant to the terms of the existing franchise agreement is a Type 2 action, exempt from further review under the requirements of SECRA pursuant to 6 NY-CRR 617.5C26, and that a public hearing be held in relation to the proposed merger as set forth in the form of notice hereinafter provided, at which hearing interested parties shall have an opportunity to be heard, to be held at the town hall on
January 21st.
January 21st, 2015 at 7:00 p.m., and that notice of said public hearing shall be published in the official newspaper of general circulation in the town of Amenia, the Militant News, by the town clerk at least 10 days before such hearing, and such notice shall be in the following form.
And it's just, that you don't have to
I made that
read
motion, and I need a second.
I'll second it. The motion made by Vicky Doyle, seconded by Stephen Parodi.
Do I need to read the notice of public hearing?
No.
Okay.
Supervisor Parodi?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Parodi?
Yes.
Councilman Delango?
No.
January 21st, 7 o'clock.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Thank you, Roger.
Roger.
Merry Christmas.
Highway Capital Project Resolution, that 54.
Yes.
Whereas Section 6C of General Municipal Law authorizes the governing board of a town to establish a capital reserve fund for the financing of all or part of the cost of construction, reconstruction, or acquisition of a type of capital improvement for the acquisition of a type of machinery or equipment, and whereas the town board finds that the acquisition of highway equipment and machinery is necessary and appropriate to facilitate the continued proper functioning of the town highway department, and it is hereby resolved that pursuant to Section 6C General Municipal Law, the town board hereby establishes a capital reserve fund, the fund to finance all or part of the cost of the acquisition of highway equipment and machinery to be used by the town highway department, and it is further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby directed to deposit the following sums in the fund. $10,000 being the sum included in the fiscal year 2015 budget for this purpose, and 2, such other funds as may be directed by the town board in any subsequent duly adopted resolution. It is further resolved that all sums deposited in the fund shall be held in a separate bank account to be known as Highway Department Equipment and Machinery Reserve Fund. It is further resolved that the town supervisor is authorized to invest the monies of the fund from time to time as provided by general municipal law. And it is further resolved that no expenditure shall be made from the fund unless that expenditure has been authorized by a resolution, the town board, duly adopted in accordance with Section 6C of general municipal law. It's further resolved that this resolution shall become effective immediately. Can I make that motion?
Second.
Supervisor Prody?
Yes.
Councilman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
And Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Okay, snow removal bid award. We had originally allocated the bid to
Al Smith.
Al Smith. Thank you. Blank. To Al Smith. We had only approved part of the bid, which was for the Amenia Town Hall, and we had tabled the optional pricing for Amenia and Wassaic. Since then, Al Smith has withdrawn his bid. The only other bid that we have is from Majestic Landscaping, who had a bid for the Amenia Town Hall of $12,000 and the optional pricing for Amenia and Wassaic for $24,000. So we need to award the bid to Majestic for Amenia Town Hall for $12,000 and the optional pricing $24,000 for Amenia and Wassaic. Can I make that motion?
Do we need to rescind the other one first?
He withdrew it.
Yeah, but we approved the town board already approved the town hall portion of it and voted on it, so don't we need to rescind that?
We voted on both of them.
Oh, yeah? Sorry.
Yeah, we voted on
Only
both
saw
of
the
them.
one in my notes earlier today.
We voted on both of them, and he
So-
pulled the contracts, so I don't see how you have to rescind it.
Bookkeeping.
Denise, does it have to be rescinded?
Oh, he's notified you that he's unable to perform it?
Yes.
I mean, if you want to be safe, you can rescind it.
I like being safe.
Okay. Okay, I withdraw that motion, and I make a motion to rescind the snow removal bid to Al Smith.
Second.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Prody?
Yes.
Supervisor Prody?
Yes. Okay, I make a motion to award the snow removal bid to Majestic Landscaping for Amenia Town Hall, $12,000, optional pricing $24,000 to, for Amenia and Wassaic.
I'll second that.
Is it possible to go out and get bids? Because this is more than twice what we have budgeted from my memory.
Yep, it is more than twice.
We already put bids out. These are the two that came in.
Well, I think we need to go and solicit more bids.
Once the original bid awardee was
It was,
rescinded, I think we couldn't, with good conscience, re-advertise.
we can't re-advertise?
Can.
Oh, we can. I would suggest that we re-advertise and have a special meeting to,
So we're not going to accept the bid,
I think it's high.
any of it?
What's the law on that? Because now technically there's only one bid. Do you have to accept it?
No.
No, we can go back.
No. Just a question, Denise.
I'm just answering,
Oh,
Mike.
okay.
What is going on?
I just asked a question. You like, no.
Okay, so what do you want to do? Do you want to not have anybody do anything here?
We could get it into tomorrow morning at 10 a.m. is the deadline for the December 24th paper.
No,
Not?
that passed at noon today.
She told me I could get information into her tomorrow morning.
So are we going, the only other choice we have with this bid is to reject it, and then we won't have anybody.
It's just, it's...
And we did not, we noticed that we sent the bills out, or the bids out. We properly advertised. We called all the local contractors and asked them to put a bid in, and this is the only one we got, besides the Al Smith one who decided to withdraw. So this is it.
But we did revise the bids to include pet-friendly ice melting materials. Could that be a reason why they felt they couldn't, didn't want to bid on this? Sand and pet-friendly ice melting materials that won't damage concrete during severe icing
No, because it just
conditions.
means they use, what is
Magic.
it, Mike, like an ice melt?
Yeah.
It's, you know.
It's not crazy expensive?
No.
No, it's not cheap either, but...
That's for sure.
I mean, like I've been saying, the whole thing on this contract, there's no way that that other bid would have been able to clean the sidewalks the way they needed to clean the sidewalks for that amount of money.
And you think this is going to be more
This is
appropriate?
more in the line of money. You know...
That's a lot of money. We've never
I-
spent that much. Never, ever.
Agree with
Not
you.
even close. You know, it's been in the neighborhood of 11,000 maximum for our whole line, but then we weren't,
Well, there's 17,000 in the budget.
I think we should,
go with it?
I think if you want to rescind, if you want to go ahead and re-advertise it
Try that?
and try it again.
You know, the
Yeah,
thing
but
is,
you're
it's
gonna
going to
be
be a
in
very, this is La Nina. I mean, it's going to be a mild winter, and we're going to spend twice and more.
Then gamble and don't get anybody, and when you want to clean the snow, hire someone to do it per snowstorm. Then you might really get kicked in the pants if you have a bid January and February like we did last year.
Right.
I mean, you're kind of playing with fire now. If you're taking on the task of cleaning the sidewalks, you don't have anybody to clean the sidewalks yet. So now technically, if you get a snowstorm,
The property owners are responsible. This is a
so then why
courtesy.
pay someone to clean the snow to begin with?
Exactly.
Because we need to have it walkable.
Then,
It's just that we don't, this is very, very high. I suggest we rebid and we do the best we can with Stan doing the town parking lot. at 10 o'clock, if that's what it takes, until we get a bid that falls into line.
So how are the employees supposed to get in?
I have to take roll call on the one that stands, where you really confused me.
I don't think I had a second.
Yes, Stephen seconded it.
Okay, then we need to vote.
Councilman Delango?
No.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
I'm going to say no.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
So that was a vote to not re-advertise.
That was just a vote
That was
to award the snow
to
removal
award
bid
it to Majestic.
Landscaping. That was both.
All right, I move that.
So basically, what we did was reject the bid.
Okay, so I move that we re-advertise for the amount that has been budgeted.
We can't put an amount.
We can't do that.
We re-advertise for snow removal.
We'll re-advertise for, I move that we re-advertise for a snow removing bid for the sidewalks in Wassaic, the town hall, and
The
town of Amenia.
bids need to be in by, can we say January 4th? For the
Bids-
reorg?
Bids to be in by January 4th
At noon?
At noon.
at noon. There a second?
Oh, I'll second that.
Councilman Delango?
No.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Are we keeping the same bid specs? I just gotta make sure I'm clear on that.
That's a good point.
I mean, one thing I would suggest you look at is in regard to the ice melting material. You have during severe icing conditions, I think you have to think about the word severe. You know, do you want them to be salting or sanding or whatever whenever there's ice? You know, if you put severe icing conditions, what does that mean?
So just put icing conditions?
Yeah.
Okay.
What if, just a thought, what if you have this contract prorated? It's already the end of December.
Well, I have to change the dates on
You're
it.
knocking 2 months off. The contract goes from November 2015. I mean, what if you took that, you break down the monthly payment, November, December, January, February, March, April, 6 months, you take 2 months off that.
Don't we prorate it now, so we pay them?
We have to
What's that?
change, we'll have to
We prorate
change.
them anyway, I think.
You can't send out a bid with the, unless you have the
No,
right dates
right.
on it.
No, but I'm just saying, then you do the
January
bid from
2000.
January to April.
So
Instead of
we need
November
to,
to April.
we
Right.
need to change the dates.
Right.
January.
No, but what I'm saying, with the bid that you have now, you could prorate it.
But we have to know what the number is that comes in. They get paid. If we'd awarded them $12,000, we would have prorated it. They would have been paid.
No, you wouldn't. Your contract goes from November, so if you would have awarded this contract, you would have had to pay from November.
So change the date
He
up there.
wasn't expecting to be paid for November, just December. But we have to change the date now anyway before we advertise.
And is it possible to put in an alternative to say bids should include sand and pet-friendly ice melting materials with alternative to regular salt? So you have two options, so we know if that's what's driving up the cost. No? It's not going to make any material difference?
Nope.
Okay. So we're just changing the date at the top.
The date and take out severe.
And severe.
So we'll do that. I'll do new bid specs. Okay, and I believe we're going to do the amended and restated security agreement, landscape survivability guarantee, and licenses first.
The other thing, Victoria, is, you know, I think all of these resolutions on the Silo Ridge project, there's going to be an initial section that is going to be repeated in each one. So if you read the first one, if you want, maybe in the subsequent ones, we can kind of go down to where it starts with a different one. I mean, because it just repeats over and over, and they're fairly lengthy.
Okay. So I think we're up to 55. Resolution approving form of amended and restated security agreement, landscape survivability guarantee, and licenses for Silo Ridge project, and authorizing town supervisor to execute said agreement subject to town attorney's approval of exhibits and insertion of necessary information. Whereas Silo Ridge Ventures Property, LLC, the owner of 670 plus or minus acres of real property located in the town of Amenia, which Silo intends to develop as a mixed-use resort community to be known as the Silo Ridge Field Club. Whereas the Harlem Valley Landfill, HVLC, is the owner of real property located adjacent to the Silo property in the town of Amenia. And HVLC and Silo intend to enter in an easement agreement granting Silo a permanent easement over a portion of the HVLC property to construct and operate a golf maintenance building, wastewater treatment plant, access road, and other improvements related to the project. Whereas in 2013, Silo applied to the Town of Amenia Planning Board for, among other things, 1, an amended special permits, master development plan approval for the project, 2, special permit approvals for golf maintenance facility, golf course improvements, and wastewater plant, 3, site plan approval for the first phase of the project, 4, preliminary subdivision approval and lot line adjustment to incorporate a portion of the HVLC property into the project site, 5, special permit approval for storage at the golf maintenance facility of more than 500 pounds of fertilizers and pesticides, and 6, certain waivers and supplementary approvals under the zoning code and subdivision code. Whereas in 2013 and 2014, the Planning Board approved site plan waivers for golf course renovation work in the town's Scenic Protection Overlay District, conditioned on, among other things, the Planning Board determining whether the applicant should post a financial security to guarantee reclamation of the golf course renovation work if the project is abandoned. Whereas on July 3, 2014, the Planning Board adopted a resolution requiring the applicant to post financial security in the amount of $80,000 cash to guarantee the cost of reclamation of any disturbed areas if the golf course renovation work is abandoned. Whereas Silo Ridge Ventures LLC, Silo Ridge Ventures Property, a LLC, and the town entered into a security agreement and license on or about August 16, 2014, and the applicant provided the initial security to the town. Whereas on March 25, 2014, the Planning Board circulated a full environmental assessment form for the project to all involved agencies, including the Town Board of the Town of Amenia. And on May 15, 2014, the Planning Board designated itself as lead agency under the State Environmental Quality Review Act for review of the applications for the project. Whereas as part of the application, Silo submitted an addendum to the EAF containing numerous detailed and thorough plans, reports, studies, and other documents evaluating the project's potential impacts on environmental and other resources. Whereas on August 21, 2014, the Planning Board determined the applications complete for purposes of public review, and on September 4, 2014, September 18, 2014, and May 5, 2015, the Planning Board held duly noticed public hearings on the applications and supplemental secret materials. Whereas the Planning Board, with the assistance of the ecological planning, engineering, visual, and legal consultants, thoroughly reviewed the EAF, the applications, and revised supplemental secret materials to identify the relevant areas of environmental concern and thoroughly analyze the identified areas of environmental concerns to determine if the project may have a significant adverse impact on the environment. Whereas on July 29, 2015, the Planning Board adopted Resolution Number 8, 2015, entitled Resolution Adopting an Amended and Restated Finding Statement under Seeker for the Silo Ridge Field Club. Whereas on July 29, 2015, the Planning Board also adopted the following resolutions, among others in connection with the project. 1, Resolution Number 9 of 2015, titled Resolution Approving the Amended Special Permit and Amended Master Development Plan for the Silo Ridge Field Club. 2, Resolution Number 11, titled Resolution Approving Lot Line Adjustment and Preliminary Subdivision Plat for the Silo Ridge Field Club. And 3, Resolution Number 12 of 2015, titled Resolution Approving Site Plans for Phase 1 of the Silo Ridge Field Club. Whereas the Town Board of the Town of Amenia is an involved agency for the project under seeker because the board has jurisdiction by law to approve certain aspects of the project, including, among other things, the formation of a transportation corporation, the execution of a public access easement, an agreement for Artisans Park Overlook, and approval of various project bonds and financial guarantees. Whereas on November 10, 2015, after careful review of the amended seeker findings prepared by the Planning Board, the Town Board adopted Resolution Number 44 of 2015, adopting the seeker finding statement for the Silo Ridge Field Club. And whereas, in accordance with Section 121-34 of Town Zoning Code, the applicant may be required by the Planning Board to furnish security to guarantee reclamation of areas to be excavated or graded in an amount reasonably related to the potential cost of such reclamation. Whereas, through consultation with counsel for the Town Board and counsel for the Planning Board, the Town Board has been advised that additional security is required from the applicant to guarantee the cost of reclamation of areas to be excavated or graded in Phase 1, Subphase 1A of the Silo project, and to guarantee the survival of landscaping installed in Phase 1, Subphase 1A of the Silo project. Whereas Silo Ridge Ventures LLC as applicant, Silo Ridge Ventures Property A LLC as property owner, HVLC, and the Town Board are desirous of proceeding with the execution of an amended and restated security agreement, landscape survivability guarantee, and license agreement. Now therefore be it resolved that after review and due consideration, the Town Board hereby approves the form of the amended and restated security agreement, landscape survivability guarantee, and licenses as attached to this resolution, and hereby authorizes the town supervisor to execute the same, such approval and authorization being subject to the town attorney's approval of all necessary exhibits thereto, and the insertion of all necessary information which is currently not inserted therein. Is there a motion? Do I make that motion?
I'll second it.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Now we're doing the Transportation Corporation. Okay, that's the one that has the consent to the formation of the,
Right.
okay. Is that 56? Okay. Resolution granting amended petition of Silo Ridge Ventures LLC for Town Board consent to the formation of Silo Ridge Waterworks Corporation and Silo Ridge Sewage Works Corporation, authorizing town supervisor to execute necessary consents.
So the initial recitals are the same until you get over to page 2, down to, you can start with the next to the last paragraph, whereas on or about July 23rd, 2015.
Okay. Whereas on or about July 23, 2015, applicant Silo filed an amended petition with the Town of Amenia seeking town board consent to the formation of Silo Ridge Waterworks Corporation and Silo Ridge Sewer Works Corporation, and the consent of the Town Highway Superintendent to the formation of the Silo Ridge Waterworks Corporation in accordance with New York State Transportation Corporation law. Whereas in December 11, 2015, applicant Silo amended a portion of Exhibit A to its amended petition with a corrected certificate of incorporation of Silo Ridge Waterworks Corporation, and whereas as set forth in said amended petition, an engineering plan for the proposed water system was submitted to the town to the Dutchess County Department of Health and the Dutchess County Water and Wastewater Authority in accordance with Section 41 of the TLC, whereas is set forth in said amended petition maps and specification of the proposed sewage works system, including the proposed wastewater treatment plant to be owned and operated by Silo Ridge Sewer Works Corporation, were submitted to the town and to DOH in accordance with Section 117 of the TCL. Whereas the town retained the engineering firm of Roy DeSoica and Andrews Consulting Engineers, PC, to conduct the necessary and required examinations of the engineering plans, maps, specification for Waterworks Corporation and Sewage Works Corporation, to report its professional engineering opinions on the feasibility and adequacy thereof, on any recommended modification and changes, to report on the cost of construction of the sewage works system and appurtenances thereto, to recommend appropriate bond amounts and to perform such additional services as may be necessary to comply with the TLC. Whereas by letters dated August 24, 2015, the DCW, the Dutchess County Wastewater Authority, advised the town the Dutchess County Wastewater Authority has no objection to the town consenting to the formation of the Silo Ridge Waterworks Corporation, subject to the town's independent review of the adequacy of the proposed water system. Whereas by letters dated December 7, 2015 and December 15, 2015, the Department of Health reported in its review of plans, reports, and specification for the Waterworks Corporation and Sewage Works Corporation, and determined that 1, the same meet the appropriate and applied design standards for sewage disposal and water supply facilities. 2, the proposed water supply and water distribution system meet the requirements of county and state standards and are suitable for a potential countywide water system and are suitable for eventual integration with such countywide system. And 3, in accordance with TLC Section 41, Department of Health has no objection to town consent to the formation of the Waterworks Corporation. Whereas Roy DeSoica and Andrews Consulting Engineers, PC, issued its letter report dated December 16, 2015 to the town board advising, among other things, 1, it has reviewed the reports, plans, and specifications associated with the Waterworks Corporation, the Sewage Works Corporation. 2, that its comments, recommended changes, and project modifications have been incorporated into the final versions of the project documents. 3, that said reports, plans, and specifications have been reviewed by the appropriate authorities have jurisdiction, including the Department of Health. 4, the Department of Health has stated in its December 7, 2015 letter that such reports, plans, specifications meet the appropriate and apply design standards for sewage disposal and water supply facilities. 5, that the approvals issued by the planning board include appropriate, sufficient, and reasonable provisions for inspection, tests, and construction oversight to ensure that proposed improvements are properly constructed and completed in full conformance with project requirements and system designs. 6, that RSA finds the reports, plans, and specifications associated with the water supply and distribution facilities and the wastewater and treatment facilities to be technically sufficient, applying appropriate and applicable design standards and sound engineering practice, and are reasonably able to be constructed and expected to perform within design standards. 7, The RSA takes no exception to the formation of the transportation corporations. 8, the RSA has reviewed a sewer performance and completion bond for the project, that such bond includes all phases of the proposed construction and incorporates amounts necessary to properly construct and complete the wastewater treatment facility and outfall, as well as the necessary collection system for the entire project, that the total bond amount is $4,607,538, and that this amount includes all labor, material, and equipment costs necessary to construct and complete a fully operational wastewater treatment and collection system for the project. 9, the RSA has discussed the operation, a maintenance guarantee with the town planning board attorney, that such bond is believed to be appropriate and necessary, that a determination of the final amount of such bond should be deferred till such time as the sewage collection and treatment facility has been advanced to the completion of Phase 1, to make a more appropriate determination with respect to sales and occupancy of the associated units in order to fully understand anticipated revenue requirements. Whereas the town superintendent of highway granted his consent to the formation of the waterworks letter dated October 8th, October 9th, 2015. Now therefore be it resolved that after review and due consideration of all the foregoing, the town board hereby grants the amended petition of the Silo Ridge Ventures LLC filed with the town on or about July 23, 2015, as subsequently amended, and hereby grants its consent pursuant to Section 41 of the TLC to the formation of the Silo Ridge Waterworks Corporation in the form annexed hereto, and grants its consent pursuant to Section 116 of the TLC to the formation of the Silo Ridge Sewage Works Corporation in the form annexed hereto. Be it further resolved that the town supervisor is hereby authorized to execute such further documents as may be necessary to indicate the consents contained in the resolution to the formation of such transportation corporations by Silo Ridge Ventures LLC. Is there a motion?
Just hold on 1 minute, Victoria. Okay.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Okay, I believe the next is the bond. The Sewage Works Corporation stop escrow. It's a performance bond.
Which one?
I think it's this one.
Which one are you doing?
The resolution approving form of performance bond for Silo Ridge Field Club sewage works system.
Page 1.
Okay. And that's 57? Yes.
I have 3 lease agreements, but 1 resolution.
Resolution approving form of performance bond for Silo Ridge Field Club sewage works system, deferring calculation of amount of operation and maintenance bond for sewage works system, approving form of escrow agreement for sewage work corporation stock, and approving form of license agreement to surety company. And this is, had the same also down to
Dawn, what was the resolution? What was the resolution number on
50.
the adoption of the findings?
The findings, statement for Silo Ridge Field Club was 44.
All right, this is going to be the same as the one you just read down to, page 4. And you can start with the first whereas paragraph on page 4.
Pursuant to New York Transportation Corporation law.
Right.
Whereas pursuant to the New York State Transportation Corporation Law, Section 119.1, the town board shall require the posting of a performance bond for the completion of the construction of the sewage work system, may require the posting of additional bond or guarantee for the payment of labor and material furnished in the course of such construction. Whereas pursuant to TLC Section 119.2, the town board shall also require a reasonable guarantee that the Sewage Work Corporation will continue to maintain and operate the sewage work system for a period of at least 5 years in the form of a bond or other security acceptable to the town board in the amount of the estimated cost of such operation, maintenance, less the estimated revenues which are received from property served, to be utilized to defray such operation and maintenance costs as reported by the licensed professional engineer or consulting engineering firm to the town. Whereas pursuant to TLC Section 119, Section 3A, in addition to the foregoing, the stock of the Sewage Work Corporation shall be placed in escrow, and title thereto shall pass to the local governing body in the event of failure to complete the construction of the sewage work system, or in the event of abandonment or discontinuance of the maintenance and operation of the system by the Sewage Work Corporation. Whereas on or about December 1st, 2015, RSA provided its Silo Ridge Site Plan Phase 1 Bond Estimate Summary dated November 16, 2015, reflecting its calculation of the project sewer performance and completion bond as $4,607,538. And whereas as stated in the RSA report, December 16, 2015, RSA has reviewed a sewer performance and completion bond for the project. Such bond includes all phases of the proposed construction, incorporates amounts necessary to properly construct and complete wastewater treatment facility and outfall, as well as the necessary collection system for the entire project. The total bond amount is $4,607,538. This amount includes all labor, material, equipment costs necessary to construct and complete a fully operational wastewater treatment collection system for the project. Whereas as stated in the RSA report of December 16, 2015, RSA has discussed the operation and maintenance guarantee with the town planning board attorney. Such bond is believed to be appropriate and necessary, and RSA has opined that a determination of the final amount of such bond shall be deferred until such time as the sewage collection and treatment facility has been advanced to the completion of Phase 1, to make a more appropriate determination with respect to sales and occupancy of the associated units, and in order to fully understand anticipated revenue requirements. Whereas the town attorney has consulted with the town planning board attorney with respect to the form of the bond to be provided to the town by Silo Ridge Ventures, LLC, as principal, with U.S. Specialty Insurance Company as surety, and the town is obligee in the amount of $4,607,538. Both attorneys have had the opportunity to review the same and make appropriate changes thereto, and the final proposed bond form is annexed to this resolution. Whereas the town board has consulted with the town attorney with respect to the proposed form of escrow agreement to provide for the stock of the Sewage Works Corporation to be placed and held in escrow in accordance with TLC Section 1193, the town board has been advised by the town attorney that she has consulted with the town planning board attorney with respect to the proposed form, that both attorneys have had the opportunity to review the same and to make appropriate changes thereto, that the final form is annexed to this resolution. Whereas a surety on the bonds discussed herein is requiring a license agreement from Silo Ridge Ventures Property A, LLC as owner of the project property, and the Harlem Valley Landfill Corp. as owner of the property adjacent to the Silo Silo project property on which certain easements are or will be granted to Silo, the form of which license agreement has been provided to the town attorney and the town planning board attorney for review and comment, and said attorneys have reviewed the same and agreed upon the form as annexed in this resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that after review and due consideration of all the foregoing, the town board hereby 1, approves the form of the performance bond for Silo Ridge Field Club sewage works system in the amount of $4,607,538 as attached to this resolution, as recommended by the RSA, determines that a determination of the amount of the operation and maintenance bond for the sewage works system should be deferred till such time as the sewage collection and treatment facility has been advanced to the completion of Phase 1 to make a more appropriate determination with respect to sales and occupancy of the associated units. In order to fully understand anticipated revenue requirements, the amount of such amount to be determined by RSA. 3, approves the form of the ESCO agreement between Silo Ridge Sewer Works Corporation, the Town of Amenia, and Denise M. Fitzpatrick as town attorney to place the stock of the Sewage Works Corporation in escrow as required by TLC Section 119.3 in the form annexed to this resolution. 4, approves the form of the license agreement between Silo Ridge Ventures Property A, LLC, Harlan Valley Landfill Corp., and U.S. Specialty Insurance Company as annexed to this resolution. Is there a motion? I make that motion.
Just hold on for a minute. Norm, I had a conversation with Dave Everett this afternoon, and we talked about the different phases, the Phase 1 and the Phase 1A. My understanding from Dave is that the amount of the operation and maintenance bond will be determined, and that'll be put in place is at the end of Phase 1A, not Phase 1, correct?
I'm not sure. I have to refer to Dave on that. That's correct. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
Let me explain the
Pedro Torres, Silo Ridge. So the reasoning for John's recommendation to wait until the treatment plan is in place is the law requires Silo Ridge to place a bond for the deficiencies for the first 5 years. So the way you calculate those deficiencies is you project what the revenues associated with units that are already in line. So the total cost minus the revenues give you a deficiency, right? So given that we don't know if we're going to have 30 units, 60 units, 80 units, he thought it would be more prudent to wait until that time so that you can have a real number whereby you can say this is that's the bond that we will have to put in place. But
Right, but it's going to be at the end of Phase 1A,
Yeah,
correct?
so
Maybe you can just explain for the board what that incorporates, Phase 1A.
Sure. So it has to be actually put in place as soon as the plant goes in operations. So, but we have Phase 1, which is a total project that is being approved under Phase 1, which is 224 units. And those have been broken down into several phases. So we're going to provide a bond for Phase 1A and on 100% of its improvements. And as we move to the next phase, we have to provide an additional bond to keep on bonding those improvements. So right now, the only thing we would be allowed to build would be the units associated with Phase 1A, which total 80 units? Correct, 80 or 70 units.
Okay, and you have to get the certificate of occupancy for the sewage system at what time? At the end of 1A?
Yes.
Okay. So there's one correction here on page 5. When you go down to the now therefore be it resolved, paragraph 2. So the amount of the operation and maintenance bond will be deferred. It should be at the completion, instead of Phase 1, it should be 1A. Does everybody understand?
Yes.
Okay.
I second. There was already a motion, right?
Yes.
So I second.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
John, who's the motion by?
Victoria?
Okay, which one are we doing next then? The performance bond or
Pick one.
the stock escrow agreement? I think we already did that, didn't we?
We
should
can
do
do
the-
bond, approving the form of performance bond for the Field Club, Phase 1A.
That's the next one.
Right.
That what, 58, John?
Yes.
Resolution approving form of performance bond for Silo Ridge Field Club, site plan Phase 1A. And where can I?
Okay, you can pick up page 2, third from the bottom.
Whereas pursuant to Section 105-24 there of the Code of the Town of Amenia, applicant Silo is required to construct and install improvements shown on the Phase 1 site plans of the project approved under the site plan approval, which are required improvements identified in Section 104-24A.A1 through 13 of the Town Code, collectively the required improvements. Whereas pursuant to Section 105-28 of the Town Code, applicant Silo is required to furnish a bond for the faithful performance of the required improvements, whereas the purpose of such bond is to ensure and guarantee the construction and completion of the required improvements in a workmanlike manner and in conformance with all approvals and all applicable governmental laws, regulations, and standards within a reasonable time. Whereas the town board has consulted with the engineering firm retained by the town, Reuter Soika and Andrews Consulting Engineers, P.C., to conduct the necessary and required examinations of engineering plans, maps, specification reports, and other materials for the project, to report its professional engineering opinions and recommendations on the project, to recommend appropriate bond amounts with respect to the project. Whereas on or about December 1st, 2015, RSA provided its Silo Ridge Site Plan Phase 1 bond estimate summary dated November 16, 2015, reflecting its calculation of the project Phase 1A infrastructure performance and completion bond amount of $7,783,737, whereas the town attorney has consulted with the town planning board attorney with respect to the form of the bond to be provided to the town by Silo Ridge Ventures as principal with U.S. Specialty Insurance Company as surety, and the town as obligee. I'm getting a little tongue-tied here. In the amount of $7,783,737. Both attorneys have had the opportunity to review the same and make appropriate changes thereto, and the final proposed bond form is annexed to this resolution. Now therefore be it resolved that after review and due consideration of all the foregoing, the town board hereby approves the form of the performance bond for Silo Ridge Field Club, site plan Phase 1A in the amount of $7,783,737 as attached to this resolution. Is there a motion?
So moved.
I'll second it.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
Yes.
And Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Now, are there any other resolutions I think that's all of them.
I think that's it.
I think we covered it all.
I'm sure it's covered.
Okay, other matters? I believe we have
Yeah.
people. Excuse me?
I have other matters.
Excuse me?
I have other matters.
I was introducing the Bulfamonte people so that they can leave. Is that all right, or do you want to do something?
That's fine.
Okay. Mr. Bulfamonte and Mr. Maggio?
Good evening, Andrew Maggio, attorney for Anthony Buffamonte. We're here to discuss the Buffamonte compost project. Over the last several weeks, we've worked very hard to complete the long-form EAF, which is now done and ready to be submitted tonight. We'd also like to bring the board up to speed on the fact that we've substantially reduced the annual tonnage by 40% of the site. We're also aware that the community is very concerned about the aquifer. We have several engineers working on this project, one of whom is here tonight, David Wright, and Mr. Wright would like to specifically discuss with the board our plans to protect the aquifer and also to answer any questions that you may have. Mr. Wright, if you're ready, would like to come up and tell us briefly or in depth what we're doing and how we're going to protect the aquifer. Thank you.
Thank you, Andrew. Good evening, board. My name is David Wright. Again, I'm from a company, GHD Consulting Services Incorporated. We're out of White Plains, New York. It's my privilege to discuss a little bit more, as Andrew described, relative to the proposed Bulfamonte compost facility. I know that you've already entertained a host of conversations and also seen some of the conceptual plans, so I'll only capture very briefly what we're intending to do. Essentially, it's an aerated static pile composting system. What we do is we introduce air via blowers into compost piles. This will be for yard waste material such as grass, leaves, twigs, wood chips. And the intent is to create an aerobic environment. What happens when you introduce air is you create an aerobic environment where you have aerobic bacteria. In the presence of oxygen, you do not generally produce odorous compounds. You actually mitigate potential odor impacts by having a byproduct of carbon dioxide, which is actually significantly less of an impactful greenhouse gas than other byproducts of anaerobic digestion, which is the other alternative process. So, as Andrew discussed, we are aware that as per the town's aquifer district overlay map, that this project site, the eastern half of it specifically, overlays what's called the Principal Valley Bottom Aquifer. We understand significantly that there is sensitivity to operating a solid waste management facility, such as a compost facility, over this area. What we'd like to present tonight, and is also presented in the environmental assessment form that we'll provide you with as our submission, are our proposed environmental mitigation measures. First, I'd like to emphasize that this is not a haphazardly put together plan. New York State Department of Environmental Conservation, the DEC, will be very heavily involved, invested in the review of our proposed site plans. They'll be engineered, they'll be in conformance with New York State 6 NY CRR Part 360 requirements. Those are the solid waste requirements for yard waste composting facilities. In there, it's outlined relative to leachate control. On the issue of leachate, naturally, as you can imagine, this is an outdoor process. When it rains, there's actually quite an absorption of water into the compost piles because you're introducing air that actually can create a net water demand. And so when it rains, you can imagine, actually we've seen in other similar projects, 50% of the rainwater absorbed into the pile. It has a demand. You know, you look at a yard waste pile, it's wood chips, it's dry, it needs the water to process. The remaining liquid, if it passes through the pile, Then it's contacted the yard waste, and at that point we consider it compost contact water. And I'm not distinguishing it as leachate because leachate unfortunately carries with it a bad connotation. Leachate is generally associated with a landfill. Leachate from a yard waste composting facility has been shown to be reprocessed as what they call a compost tea, and that's actually a beneficial use product. What we're going to be doing to be sure that that doesn't migrate into the groundwater, doesn't penetrate into the valley bottom aquifer, is lining the composting areas with an impervious pad. That will either consist of one of two things, probably a combination of both, paved asphalt or concrete. Essentially what we're doing is we're creating a physical barrier between the bottom of the compost piles and the ground surface, whereas if rainwater or leachate interacts through the bottom of the pile, that it would then not penetrate the ground surface, therein not entering the valley bottom aquifer, and that valuable resource would be protected. Furthermore, at that point, you're managing your liquid runoff as surface water, whereas it would run off of the composting areas of the site. And the way that we intend to receive it is via stormwater system that will be designed in accordance again with the New York State DEC requirements for compost facilities and stormwater management systems. And what we intend to do there is a variety of beneficial things, such as sediment forebays that will help to remove suspended solids from the compost runoff. We intend to provide wetland plantings, intend to provide landscaping features, all of these very much green infrastructure features which are consistent with the New York State intent for stormwater management design systems. Again, as I already said, there'll be a very involved DEC review period, whereas we as the engineer will submit a detailed engineering report. We'll also submit an operations and maintenance plan for the site. One of the operations protocols that we will emphasize in that report is good housekeeping practices. And as Andrew mentioned already, we've decreased the proposed processing capacity by 40% from 100,000 tons per year to 60,000 tons per year. One of the reasons that we felt that that was necessary was to help protect the community and the local resources. And we also realized that there was a need to be sensitive as a good neighbor and to also be able to provide a better operation for the longevity of the composting site.
So it will take a much lesser footprint? In other words, the proposals that we saw occupied quite a bit of the usable acreage there.
Right.
So it's going to shrink in physical footprint?
The original proposal was over 12 acres. We've done more detailed review since that original proposal, and we found that we have about 7 acres of usable land. We're taking into account some setbacks away from the property line because we want to be sensitive to noise considerations, and also to, again, being a good neighbor. And now those composting areas will be just for that 60,000 tons per year, yes. And I just want to also emphasize that the environmental assessment form we'll submit to you tonight includes with it these details described as well for your review and benefit. And that's what I have as a presentation. Thank you.
Does anybody have any questions?
What about so you agree that the aquifer is of a prime consideration, and either concrete or
asphalt.
Asphalt would be the base, and then there would retention pond, so it would all drain into that retention pond?
Yes.
Okay, let's see, okay.
The pond is lined.
And the pond, yes. The
pond is lined as well?
Yes.
Okay,
DEC,
so it's all controlled?
Yes, exactly. DEC has very specific parameters for whether or not you need to line the pond, and those would obviously be considered as the design criteria as we go through that design process, absolutely.
Now, some other questions that have come up has been the fact that DEC also regulates our mines, our gravel mining industry, and we have not always had a perfect understanding. They're concerned about our zoning laws haven't been as important as our residents do a lot more watchdog, and we use our zoning enforcement officer also to make sure that things are done the way the town has put conditions on the things that we're able to regulate. and that it's occurring in the permitted area. So would there be, I've heard this quite often, is that we feel the need for an independent inspection outside of DC, in addition to DEC, that would work on behalf of the town, either annually or semi-annually, at some point to report back to say, yes, they're following everything to the specifications.
I'm the
Okay.
owner, and
Okay.
let me just take over. Good evening, I'm Anthony Wolf-Montaigne. Thank you, everybody, for your time. As far as an independent outside agent, we have absolutely no problem, and we pay for it out of our own expense.
Okay.
We have no issues.
I think that helps us a lot, because we
Absolutely.
don't feel that the DEC necessarily would be taking all of our citizenry issues into account the way somebody independently might.
The only thing we would ask is it would be a qualified firm with experience in this field. And there are select people, and we actually have names of independent companies. We worked on controlled inspections on very large wetland remediation projects, drainage projects throughout New York City and throughout Westchester County. So there are agencies that specialize in this issue with water conservation and quality, their main concern. So we have agents and companies that we work with on a regular basis already.
Right, but we
They're-
would be
so
using
independent
somebody that would
company.
be independent and...
They're totally independent company.
But
They don't
the
work for us, they work with
qualifications.
us.
Right, okay.
Absolutely. And like David and Andrew mentioned, we have agreed, and we sort of came up with an idea to significantly lower the amount of yard waste being accepted at the facility and processed. It's beneficial more for the town than for myself. Number one, it would be smaller equipment, so it'd be less pollution, less hours of operation. It just became a small operation than we originally intended. But we really have the community in mind as well. But we do want to do something where it's still worth doing. And at that capacity, it's still worth doing, but it's going to be a small operation. So it's going to be, smaller equipment, less hours of operation, less pollution, less emissions, and this will also be in all the reports being submitted. And as far as we understand the local law, and we also understand the DEC, we've satisfied the DEC, and they're totally on board with everything we've presented and beyond at this point. There are very few facilities in the state of New York that work on lined and impervious surfaces. Mostly everyone works on soil or just pretty much whatever the land is, gravel, whatever's allowed at the site when they converted it to a compost facility. So we're one of the few in the entire state of New York that will have impervious surface, and everyone has the understanding that all the water, that whatever it does, let's call it leach off of the pile, is collected in stormwater filtration system and gets diverted directly to our holding pond, whether by gravity fed or with pumps. And the water no one touched on this, but I do not want to avoid the ultimate result. We're going to have a pond that will maybe at some point be filled. A lot of that water will go back into the pile, which David mentioned does need hydration quite often, evaporation and aerated, the engineered static piles that we have. So it needs a good amount of moisture. And whatever is left, if that pond is at capacity, we are required by the state to truck it in a tanker down to Hawthorne or another approved facility to get rid of whatever water we can't use back in the pile. So nothing's ever going to hit the aquifer, groundwater, drinking water, ever. It can never, ever contaminate the soils or the water in the area. I mean, fertilizer, Roundup on farms, that has a better chance of contaminating your groundwater than my facility does. And this is not something that we're talking about. This is engineered, planned, and will be inspected.
So there's a big rain event, there's a 2 days, 3 days of rain, there's no chance of that overflowing and getting into people's wells
Never.
nearby.
Never. And I'll say never
Because
tonight, and
it'll
I'll
be
say never at that
maintained.
point. Totally. And it's, the size of the pond is phase 3, so we have phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3 that we're proposing. It's like 4 steps past phase 3, the capacity that's been designed. And O2 Compost, the gentleman that spoke at the prior meeting, is working in sync with David Wright's firm. The only reason David Wright is on board, and the major reason, they're a New York firm, and they have extreme experience and he didn't touch on it, but they designed Onondaga County facility, the Amboy facility up in, by Syracuse, successfully, with aquifer issues, community issues. They were the company that designed the facility and engineered all the, runoff and the stormwater and everything involved in EAF and the SECRA complete process. And they were recommended to us by O2 Compost. That's how, we began working together.
So they're the firm that's going to follow you all the way through SECRA in this...
From here on in, yes.
Okay.
But we're still, all our supervision and our guidance is still coming from O2 Compost out of the state of Washington.
Right.
It was definitely a pioneer in the aerated static pile, which is a totally new method, and I hope everyone has enough insight on it. If not, we have videos, brochures, operating facilities using the technology. It's the most modern, advanced way of making compost. No odor, no dust, there's absolutely no smell. It's a real engineered, it's the highest end method in engineering to producing high quality compost.
Well, we would like to see the brochures.
Absolutely, absolutely. I can have Peter Moon have a complete package. He recently, he couldn't be here tonight because I couldn't fly him back in. He was busy with other commitments, or he would have been here tonight. It was a little short notice. He just came back from New Zealand and Australia. Both facilities were shut down for smell and odor. They implemented his system inadequately, and they sort of cut corners when they built it. He visited both sites, brought them up to par, and they're back opening. They're both open with full permits, full permission, no smell, no odor, and he has all the videos of what they were doing wrong and what he did, and he can compile, as well as David, enough video and footage of exactly what we're doing, exactly what we're presenting here. We're not doing an old school way of composting. It's not worth it for me. I don't like the old method. It smells. There's dust in the air. There's smoke in the air. When you turn piles, there's clouds of smoke. No resident will see any of that. And we can show through existing facilities of how the process works. So I'll be happy to compile all that information with Peter Moon and with David Wright's firm.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's any questions, I'd open to answer any. if anybody's
There's
any
trucks
questions.
as well. They were concerned about insects.
I'm sorry,
mentioned
what's-
Tonight, we had someone concerned about, potential for increased insects as a result of having the operations there.
Insects can't live.
Maybe rodents, I don't know.
Yeah,
that kind of thing.
there's a whole engineering design aspect. The heat that the pile generates, they cannot live or survive inside the pile. The pile is safe because it's capped with a finished compost. So there's no rodents, insects, bugs, everything sort of dies out. And what's ever in there is just part of the mix. Yeah.
Then they're concerned about trucks and safety on Route 22, and I've had this also from trucks as they come through, and maybe they're making their left-hand turn, they're concerned people not paying attention on 22 would
So
have an
I've
accident.
spoken to the gentleman who handles this section of Route 22, and we're having, it's a highway use permit plan to increase the visual frontage in front of our property. Our drawings are all completed, and the application is going to go up to him probably just after the new year. And after the new year, he's going to come to the site as well. We're going to expand the lawn panel in front of the property, which is all their jurisdictions. And I did ask if the town had any input, and he assured us it's all DOT regulations. So the front of the frontage,
Road frontage is all
the road
there.
frontage is all DOT, it's all DOT regulations?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
They'll tell them what to do.
we'll present something, he'll tell us ultimately what to do, because we do want to have about a 30 or 40 foot wide lawn panel with evergreens just on the outside of it. And my drawings are all done. Actually, I can get a copy up here like immediately. They're all completed. I waited about a month and a half to have them done by our landscape designer. I wasn't happy with the first couple renderings, but I'm happy with what I have and what I can show you copies of. And he basically told me it's really up to him. But he asked us why we want to do it. I told him about the proposed facility, about the line of sight, and he agreed totally. and he basically said, just fill out the application, he'll be, come to the site. If we do have a formal meeting, I can invite some of the board members to be there as well. It's self-explanatory with the drawing, and he was totally on board. And also the size of the curb cut that's been existing for the last probably 30 years would not get changed.
And how far would the setback now be from the nearest resident?
Oh, the setback from the nearest resident?
Yeah, of the compost piles
Oh, the compost piles?
to the nearest residence.
Well, originally had a 25-foot setback. Shrinking the facility down, we're probably going to be a minimum of 50 feet from our property line. From the nearest house, I think the nearest house is about 600 or 700 feet or more. Like affecting the next neighbor's house,
Yeah.
I'm going to say 700 to 1,000 feet away.
Okay.
Yeah. Or possibly greater. We're going to concentrate this sort of in the middle and have as much buffer as we could
Right.
for our own equipment and just keep it green. It'll just be lawn. And there's no just state guidance and state regulations and DEC. There's actually no setback required. You just have to be 300 feet from the nearest neighbor, which we're at like 500 feet right now. So we're going to be even
Further back.
much higher a number away from that as well.
That's all I have.
Any surveys, tests, engineering, whatever we're responsible for, obviously we're committed to do to everyone's satisfaction, so everyone's comfortable with the next phase. But we can almost guarantee with all our reports, we have copies for everyone here tonight of our preliminary, which will bring us to the next phase.
So we'd need that in digital form to get it on the internet so that property owners in the area have voiced concern about staying informed, being aware of what the project entails, so that they, digital would be great.
That would be great. Okay, thank you for coming
Okay,
in.
thank you very
If you
much.
get that information to us, that would be good.
Okay, absolutely.
Because we want to be able to provide people who, who are concerned about this project with all the information that, they can get.
Okay, we could also, I think we can definitely generate a PowerPoint at a scheduled meeting or next town board meeting, or call another meeting.
Yeah.
We could have a PowerPoint presentation of facilities in place between David Wright and Peter Moon. We can sort of compile a whole, whole collection of videos, photos, improper use facilities, properly used facilities, proven methods of how we do it, or how we propose to do it.
Okay.
If that's necessary, I'm sure we can organize that as well. Whatever's needed, we're, more than up for the task.
That way we can have one for the public to review.
Okay. Yeah. If anyone has any other questions I can answer?
Share, because he's going off the board.
Yeah, we can give it to Damien.
Yeah.
But, so
Right.
take one, pass it to him. So I'll take Damien's now. I'll put it in your mailbox, just don't take it. Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Happy holidays, everybody. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Gretchen, you had something?
Yeah. And I hope this doesn't come off as Grinch-like, because it's not meant to be that way. Victoria sent an email, or had Annette send an email about the town hall being closed on Thursday, the 24th, Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve.
Yes.
But we don't pay them. We don't pay the employees for those days. We only pay them for Christmas Day and New Year's Day. So are you forcing them to take a...
Well, both of those days are on a Friday, and they're days that they don't usually come to work.
So you're giving them you're gifting them a vacation, a paid vacation day?
It's gifting them, it's a day they're entitled to.
No,
But-
they're entitled to be paid for Christmas Day and New Year's Day as per the employee handbook.
Right. And both of those days are on a,
Christmas Day and New Year's Day is on Friday,
right.
the
Right.
24th.
And we're closed on Friday.
Yeah, New Year's Eve and Christmas Eve is Thursday.
Right.
Right. So a day that they normally have off, they're getting paid for according to the employee handbook. But additionally, they're getting the day off of the day before. But it only applies to some of the town employees, not all of the town employees. Because in the employee handbook, it only allows town employees to have New Year's Day off and Christmas Day off, and then it makes provisions if those days land on a Saturday or Sunday, but it says nothing about it if Christmas is on Friday, that they get Thursday off.
Friday we're closed. They don't even work on Friday.
Friday, some town employees don't work.
Nobody works. There is no scheduled working employee who is scheduled to work on Friday.
For the town of Amenia.
Right. No one is scheduled to work.
The
For
highway
any of the-
department is closed on Friday?
I'm talking about the town hall employees.
I'm talking about town employees.
Oh, the highway superintendent oversees the town highway employees. I'm talking about the employees in the building. The building is closed on Friday.
Yes, and according to the employee handbooks, they would get paid for a day that they normally would have off anyway.
No.
Like Christmas and New Year's. It's kind of how I read it.
It isn't, they're not getting an extra day.
So the question that came up in the building was, does that mean you're paying them, if somebody works 20 hours, are you paying them 24 hours or are you paying them 20 hours? Are you looking to pay them 24 hours?
Well, the way I read it, it was they would be paid for Christmas. It said nothing about whether the building would be open or closed.
Because it put them over their hours. So the way that the employees for this entire year have been being compensated for holidays, if you normally work Memorial Day week, Memorial Day was a Monday, if you normally work the Monday, you get paid for your Monday. If that's not a regularly scheduled day, you're not being paid extra money for a day that would be off. So Friday would be a day that they would be off. So in part of the discussion, to have Thursday off instead of Friday, they're getting their paid holiday day off, but they're not being compensated anything over and beyond their allotted hours.
Okay. So that doesn't match what's in the handbook. So what I'd like to do is to have us change the handbook so it matches what we're doing, if the board's amenable to that.
Perhaps in the new year, we can sit and meet and have a handbook meeting, because there are several issues in the
I
handbook.
just want to address this one.
Because to change the handbook, you have to redo it.
Okay, is there
What do
any?
you guys think before you cut me off, Victoria?
But that's why
I thought
what
you were
was done
done.
was done. Because Friday, there's no part-time hourly employees scheduled to work Friday. Doesn't mean that none of them don't come in, but they're not scheduled. The town hall is supposed to be closed on Fridays.
Right.
There's no mail delivery to the town hall's closed.
And the full-time employees?
Would get that holiday. And there are no full-time employees in the building, they're all hourly part-time. Our only full-time employees are our highway staff that work under Stan. So that letter had nothing to do with highway. That was implying Nancy specifically. You know, you have Marge, you have Katrina, Annette and Tara.
Mike.
Mike doesn't work Fridays. He works for the town of
He's town of
Northeast
Northeast on Fridays.
on Friday. That's not his
But
regular
that's how
work
that
day.
all came about. So that you know.
So what do you guys think? Should the employee handbook reflect the practices of the town?
I think if there are a few concerns about the handbook being out of date, then we should make a list of them and go back to Jeff, whatever his name was, who just redid
Yeah, we can schedule meetings in the new
Because
year.
we're going to be talking to the highway people, we're going to be getting a long list of things that may need to be adjusted, and we'll just hire this guy again to come and do our handbook over when we have a list. We'll just start a list.
Is there any other matters? Because I have one other thing.
The truck?
Yep, the truck.
What do you need, a motion?
What?
Do you need a motion to approve the payment
No.
for repair?
What
It
happened to the
won't,
truck?
the truck won't pass inspection.
Oh,
It isn't just repair,
so what happened to it?
for all kinds of things.
Well, we just got it repaired.
It doesn't have a horn. And there are 2 sensors.
This is it?
And installed, yes, you have it with you.
Oh my gosh.
So we know
And in addition to...
what's wrong with it. I mean,
In addition to this, the things that are wrong with it, it also has a hole in the frame. So we can either, whether you want to try and fix the truck, or Stan said they would fix the truck, but he also said that they would take the truck back and use it on a very limited area.
fix it.
All this is if the frame is repaired first.
Right, this isn't without the frame. And the frame is bad by the gas tank.
Yeah. So I think we should get it fixed.
Well, that's what we need to decide.
So Mike Segelkin has his own vehicle. Does he prefer to use a town vehicle or his own truck? And did we determine it was cheaper to keep fixing this truck
That's what
versus
we
paying somebody
determined.
mileage?
Yep,
But,
that's exactly what we determined.
but the truck won't pass inspection right now.
Yeah, it
And
needs
we
to be
also
fixed.
need, yes, and the frame is also bad by the gas tank. So
who's
that's a whole
separate
thing.
I think we should get it fixed.
I think we should give it to Stan and get out of this business of maintaining vehicles and let them, and just do mileage.
Because they would only, if we gave it back to them, they would only use it sporadically anyway.
I think it's
not
at the
at
end
all-
of its
not-
useful life. It's
I
how
think
many
so,
years?
too.
It's old. It's older than my husband's, I think, and it's dead.
I think we should get it fixed. We ran into problems with mileage and usage previously, which is why we went down this road of providing a vehicle for the building
Well, I
inspector.
don't think that's a good reason to have to not change to mileage because of what one building inspector did. I think we need to be
I
realistic
think
here.
it's
This is an
really
old
realistic
vehicle.
that we are using a vehicle, that we're saving money by using this vehicle. And
How are
you
we
know.
saving money if we have to keep putting money into it? We
You're
just
not-
put it, we just put a muffler.
You're not saving money in the vehicle because every time it goes to a different garage, they just open up more cans of worms on it. Stan fixed it the last time. You're better off, the way that this vehicle is being taken care of, you're better off giving it to the highway department and paying mileage, because every time it goes into a garage, they just find more stuff and more stuff and more stuff. I gave an estimate on the truck, what should get fixed. It was about $1,600 when we thought about this before the budget. The frame does not fail New York State inspection. There is a rot hole in the frame, but it does not fail New York State inspection because it's not at a suspension point. It doesn't matter if it's at the gas tank or not. The gas tank is not falling out of the truck. So, but the problem is every garage that you bring it to, there's a different estimate on what the truck needs. The truck is an old vehicle. It does have issues. It does have problems. But unfortunately, we're a municipality. And
I don't think we're very good at doing this sort of thing, even with you on the board.
it doesn't matter because I can't help the town, because I can't fix the truck.
You can't?
Nope.
No, he's prohibited from doing that.
Oh.
So, this is what it comes down to.
So every
I mean,
time we take it to a thing, they're going to say what you need is X, Y, and Z, and we're not touching it until you fix the frame, and the frame is going to cost another couple of $1,000s, and it's going to rot in another place, and next year we'll have to... Forget it! We'll pay mileage.
I mean, I don't think it's a bad idea for the building inspector to have an official car, but unfortunately, the way this one is headed, I think it's time to...
Because it's not just mileage, it's also, the repair on the building inspector's car.
No, mileage gives you...
All he gets is mileage.
No, we ended up paying for repair on the tires blown out.
No way. On somebody's private vehicle that we're
Yeah.
paying mileage? We did not
Yeah.
pay for any... I never authorized it.
Well...
Let me see that bill, because I'd like to see that. They do not get paid for blown tires.
Okay, make a motion to turn the truck back over to the highway department.
I'll second it.
Councilman Delango?
Yes.
Councilwoman Hitzelberger?
No.
Councilwoman Doyle?
Yes.
Councilman Perotti?
Yes.
Supervisor Perotti?
Yes.
Merry Christmas, Stan. Wherever you are.
Well, they can fix a lot
I
of
think he
things.
heard you.
Any other public comment? Yes.
No, everybody's tired, so I'll make it really quick. First, I want to thank Denise for all the work she did on all the resolutions and all the documents and bonds, and there was a lot of clarifications and some things she picked up that some of the attorneys hadn't picked up before, so that was good. But I also want to give you an update on the project. We're pretty much complete with the golf course. We have essentially the hole 8, the one in the entrance. So that one we're going to get probably 90% there, and then we're going to stabilize the entrance and then finish it next year. And the main pond. Other than that, everything else has been completed. And in terms of pending approvals, we're working with DEC to address the questions that were asked, that were requested by the Wasaic Viewshed.
Oh, the
Protection for-
watershed, something, concerned citizens of the
Yeah,
Wasaic.
so their memo, we're addressing that memo with them. And we're also, I think, conservation easement. One thing I wanted to clarify, I've heard that the people were thinking that we're gonna do the conservation easement with the town. That's not the case. So it would be either, we've been working with North American Land Trust, trying to make sure that we incorporate all of the requests that the planning board had requested. We also had some agreements that we had made with Dutchess Land Conservancy. We're retaining those, so incorporating those into the agreement. And we should have probably a draft shortly that will be distributed both to Denise and Dave Everett, as well as all the consultants. She'll review. And I think the only other pending would be the HOA, which I think Denise is reviewing.
Homeowners Association.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's already been approved by New York State, TAG's office. And ultimately will have to be filed together with the plat and everything else.
I just want to mention that I had our bond specialists take a look at your bonding company, and they are one of the top ranked, I would think, in the nation, ranked 4th or 5th by Standard & Poor. They were like an AA standard. He said, no trouble at all with the fact that they're solvent.
Yep.
They're standing behind you guys. You have one of the best, we have one of the best surety companies that you can get. So the bonding has been looked at by a bonding expert who knows this company in his practice, but also looked up to date and made sure that they are solvent, they have all the money, they have information that I can't really, combined ratio of 80%, 82% loss ratio of something or other, so of their premium. So we are in good hands with all of the performance bonds that we've been voting on tonight. And I just wanted the public to know that they are not left out, that we did our homework.
Yeah, everything that
bond-
Mr. Murphy had requested was included in there. I think that and above. So, yeah, no, everything was there, and we have no problem with it.
Yeah.
But thank you very much.
Just want to say good luck with your project. I wish you much success.
Thank you. And Merry Christmas.
Merry
Enjoy
Christmas.
the holidays.
Christmas. Same to you.
Thank you.
Town board comments?
I'll go very quickly. I just wanted to say thank you also to the people who helped me particularly. I know this was a huge group effort to put on Holiday of Lights in both Amenia and Wassaic. So I know you've already started. There are a lot of people who came to it, but personally, I just want to say the Maplebrook School CAPS program, post-secondary program, they were lovely. They really were here to work for the library, but I borrowed them to help also with all kinds of other projects. Sarah Diamond, Chloe O'Leary, Haley Hollander, Christina Spiegel. They also helped with the planting of the rain garden. They were focused. They stayed on target. They did whatever you asked them to do. They were amazing, lovely young ladies. Who I really were really helpful. I also wanted to thank Eric Eschbach, who helped me with all kinds of different things. John Culligan, big shout out to him, because whatever we needed for the dance program, he made, whether it was with shower curtain rings or, gosh, he used, what were those, tarps to make, places for the kids to get out of the spotlight so they could slide in and out of the wings. And I'll also say Mike Sugelkin welded, did whatever he needed to put up additional secure curtains for the program. Wonderful. This has all happened. They all did what they needed to do. Mike Flint did the video. It's excellent, and it's showing all the time on Channel 22. There's a schedule that every few minutes you can see what the next scheduled program was, and I enjoyed watching it very much because while I'm actually at the concert, I'm trying to film it or take photos, and it was great to see it afterwards. It's a very lovely program. The kids worked so hard, and thank you for noticing, and for they really did a great job. The parents were great. We had very little attrition, and I'm always asked by grant agencies, how are you making sure that this program is good, and it's what are the metrics? And one of the metrics was trying to get a photograph at the end. They had a photo op, and I could not wedge my way in to get a frontal of these kids because all the parents were so blocked trying to get their photographs. So I thought that was one measure of how can you even get in there to get your own photograph, and it was really hard. So that was one measurement of success for us, and the fact that maybe 24 kids 25 kids signed up, but after a couple of kids realized it's every single Saturday, you have to come at 10 and leave at 1 or 2 o'clock and still come to recitals and rehearsals. it was amazing that those kids, once they locked in, they were in, and they were there every Saturday. They did such a good job, and we had no attrition, nobody not showing up for this one, so I really, really appreciate all their hard work. Marilyn Noe, couldn't have done it without her. Amenia NY Firehouse, all the fire people doing their parade, did a great job. Nancy Luther, of course, holding down the fort in Wasaik for us, and just all the people who donated prizes and contributed to the overall ceremony. I really appreciate it. Thank you very much, and Merry Christmas.
And I would like to thank you for all the energy and the hard work that you made all this happen.
I thought you were going to say we have to go into executive session.
No.
I would like to call this
thank you to
executive
you.
session. Oh, thank you very much.
Well, I'd like to thank the people that decorated 3117, Christian Larrabee, Zach and Carly Klinger.
3117.
Which
The
is
fire truck.
the fire truck. And thank Andy Murphy for,
Yes.
once again, his enthusiasm and his thoroughness in his decorating. And you know, I had an opportunity to go to the Millerton Parade of Lights with him with 3117 and Pine Plains, and it was a real and Millbrooks as well. It was a great time of participation, and but I really want to give the shout out to the kids that helped them decorate that engine. They spent a lot of time and effort doing it, and they should get the credit that they deserve. And future firefighters, and with that, this is my last meeting. I have served my term. I almost said serve my time. It's been educational. It's been an interesting road for me, both professionally and personally, in showing me a lot about myself and everything, and it's actually helped me grow spiritually more connected to the Lord Jesus Christ. I am a Christian, and God has showed me where I need to improve, and I pretty much have turned my life over to Him. And with that, I wish a blessed and Merry Christmas and a bountiful New Year as we celebrate the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus. And to all you out there, Jesus saves. During this time, I know a lot of people are struggling, with loneliness. The holidays are a tough time for people, but guess what? You're fearfully and wonderfully made by a God who loves you. And I would ensure and I would hope that you would reach out to Him because He loves you. Jesus saves.
Is there any other town board comment?
Yeah, I'd like to thank Kevin Casone for all of his work that he put on
on
the
my
Holiday of
list.
Lights.
Absolutely,
From
Kevin.
6 o'clock in the morning
I agree.
until after 11 at night, along with Shane, and they put together all of the food in the auditorium, and it was a few days of work. So thanks, honey, you did a great job.
And tables and chairs, and yeah, I heard from a parade person that the food in line was a great thing, that she hadn't had that, and the subs from Richie's were phenomenal. She really liked it, so, and the
Yeah,
soups
great
there are
idea.
good. Yeah,
Yeah, that was a great
very
idea.
good.
And then I just wanted to follow up, I had asked for a copy of the reorg resolutions early. A second board member also backed me up on that request. We were told by you, Victoria, that you're waiting for the mileage from the state.
No, federal.
Federal, the mileage amounts.
Yeah, we'll be sending it out probably on Monday, because I think it should be there by now.
I think even if you don't get the mileage amount, if you could forward an email copy of it, I would greatly appreciate not having to put in a FOIL request for
the resolutions for the reorg.
You're not going to need a FOIL request for the resolution for the reorg. You're going to get them next week anyway.
Thank you. Have a happy holiday.
Thanks to Victoria, too, because she did do an amazing amount and allowed us full use of the copy machines, and Annette and Tara did a great job as well, Dawn Marie. I know the list keeps going on, but you think about the people that you couldn't do it without, and the list keeps growing. So thanks.
Any other town board comments? Not, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
All in favor?
Yes.
Any opposed?